All right. Takes a little while to start the live stream for me. Let me unmute you. I think you muted. There we go. You should be good. All right. Connection was not able to. Okay. I think the rumble didn't go through.
We good now?
Yeah, we good. Darth Vader, we got one person watching from your channel. All right, everyone. Welcome to the YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I'm here with Darth Vader. We got some time. We got a number of things on our list to get through today. It's a bi-weekly Thursday live stream, so
Good morning, everyone.
good morning. This is gonna be fun. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Let me know who's all with us today. So let me look at the chat to see what's going on here. Right. Let me know how many of you are watching. I think there's about 6 people watching. There's some funny things you can do on here, Darth Vader. That's I was like, oh wow, this is cool. Let me show you. You can yeah, there we go.
Working with a new setup here, so we're still kind of playing around with it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a learning process. It's a whole different setup. Anyway, I know people are coming in, so let's just give them a little bit of time to come in. But we are gonna start as soon as in the next 2 minutes or so. We're gonna start with the videos. But let me know where you guys are joining us from. How you doing today? What's happening with you? How is life? How's the family? These things matter. Like and subscribe. All right, so I couldn't find that for you. Yeah, you can add like balloons on the screen and all that. I was like, these people are overdoing this thing. Yeah, yeah, I couldn't find it, but
Get all kinds of fancy up in here.
yeah, he gets a little bit too much. I was like, yeah, I'm doing too much. I just I just I there we go. Exactly. All right. So 14 people are watching. We want to thank you guys for joining us. We're about to start in a minute now. Anyway. Yeah, I'll find another time. I was playing with it the other day. I was like, okay. You can clap. You can do like all this stars everywhere. I was like, oh. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, let's start. So we have Awakened with JP on the channel right now. So we're gonna take a listen to this video. So the title of this one: Did America just die? Darvede, before we dive into this, aren't you? What is your perspective on everything that's going on in this country?
It kind of, to me, it's kind of like watching the beginning of the end. You know, it once strong nation, and now it's like on the decline. Where and just eat itself from within. Those who are here, who were born here, take for granted all the freedoms they were given,
Mm-hmm.
all everything that they were born into, and don't understand their birthright. Yet those who come from other countries cherish it more than those who were born here, because they know what this country means and what it stands for versus what the rest of the world's like.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, it's like the beginning and the end, and there's a lack of appreciation coming from Americans. I agree with you. I think we are seeing we are seeing the very thing that the Bible speaks about coming to pass, and you can tell no nation ever lasts forever, but it looks like these United States are going down into this journey. Like we're going down into this dark valley, and you know that there's no turning back. It's like you can slow it down, but you can't really stop it. It's
Hmm.
and it's hard because you're like, yo, I love my country and I love the Lord and I want Jesus to come. But it's really heartbreaking when you like know how this thing is going to end. You're like, this is bad news, man. But the people that are doing it are the ones that are more troubling. They really think they're doing something to help.
But
That's
on the plus
yeah,
side, we know as believers we're not going to have to be here for it, or
yeah,
it's going to come take us away before it gets to the point where it's going to completely implode on itself.
yeah. It's certainly imploding. It's certainly beginning to. All right. All right. So let's begin with this video here coming from JP. Did America just die?
Good evening and welcome to We Lied to You News. This month, we're gay. Tonight we have riveting stories including Pride Parade brawling, a convicted felon is running for president, Fauci admits he was just kind of making everything up, and more. But starting with a question. What happens if you have cancer and your cancer develops cancer itself? Well, what you get is pro-Palestine protesters blocking the Philly Pride Parade. Try to solve that one. It's kind of hard to tell who's in the right when they're both in the wrong, but we know for sure that both groups are serving their country very well by standing with their current thing that is destroying our country. Will they destroy each other? We don't know, but they definitely tried, as a brawl broke out at the Philly Pride Parade later that night. Yet it was a rather unusual fight, as all the men were fighting like women, and the women were fighting like men. It was a great way to kick off Pride Month by punching other people in the mouth because you're the group of love, acceptance, and inclusion. And the FBI got in on Pride Month by coming out of the
Okay,
closet.
hold on. Did they not get and understand that
FBI.
if they were actually in Palestine,
That
they'd
wouldn't.
they'd all have to grow wings?
Yeah, they. Yeah, grow wings. I see what you just did here. Yeah. By the way, do you notice what he's wearing on his shirt? He's
Oh
got.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You catch the pen?
Oh no! This is actually a thing. The FBI sent people to march in the parade.
Yeah,
Like
that's
if you back it up, you see some of
yeah,
them carrying.
that is crazy.
Yeah, but like if they were actually in Palestine, they would survive 5 minutes. Yeah, see, like right there, he's got his badge and his pistol
Yeah. What's the point? What's the connection here? I mean,
because the government knows who to ally with and what agendas to push.
wow.
They want this.
You can't make this up. You can't make this up. Anyway,
This
see.
is part of a bigger agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And if
There's obviously
you
something.
can't see that, then you need to step back and take a broader look at what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Good point.
Pride Parade. Rumor has it they were later kicked out for being too gay. And Major League Baseball announced it's gay too. And the LGBTQ Pride Scouts were seen on the streets of New York recruiting new members. Looked like a very successful effort to me. allergies. And in other news that you probably haven't heard yet, there is a convicted felon running for president. A felon named Donald J. Trump. Authorities finally brought this career criminal and current threat to the establishment to justice, where he was convicted of 34 felonies. We're not quite sure what the crimes were because nobody really knows, but you can be confident that they were severe crimes. This just in! Rest in peace, America, 1776 through 2024. The convictions seemingly helped this felon bring in record-breaking campaign donations to the tune of over $200 million in just days after the judge announced the verdict that he told the jury to come to.
Actually, in all reality, it came out to be over $400 million.
$400 million. That's what I thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
They kept on adding to that number. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's loud. Yeah. So
Felon.
And that's the beauty of it. I think it's like, you know, it's not like these big corporate donors that the Biden campaign has to rely on. These are like little
grassroots,
you know, grassroots, you know, $5, $10, maybe even $15, $20 donations at a time.
Yeah.
That people rely on.
Yeah.
You know, that these guys are relying on, that all added up. You know,
that is massive. That is huge difference here. I'm looking for something here to show, like, how serious of a movement that's going on here. For example, you go to Joe Biden on TikTok, and you look at his viewership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere about 300,000 for followers or stuff. Yeah, there it is. That's his TikTok account right there. Okay, so according to TikTok, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. Joe Biden has 375,000.6. Right?
Rounded off, say 376.
Yeah, 376. Let's just give him the last four Ks. Okay, that is nothing comparing to this guy. What does this tell you, man?
6.2 million.
Yo, he is swallowed up.
And that was after being canceled and coming back.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, look at the difference. Look at that. Biden, look at the videos. He's collecting videos from people that are Democrats, other TikTokers that are talking, and they put their videos. This is what you find on the Biden page. There's a whole lot of videos going on there. So they've been working. Okay, I appreciate that.
Man,
look at Trump.
Putting out videos like daily.
Look at Trump. He's got 2 videos.
And he's got more likes.
I hope you can see the difference in viewership.
Look at the likes.
And followers.
7.4 million likes in 2 videos.
Yeah, we just
versus Biden's entire wrap of videos.
I mean, we're talking about, there it is, 4.9.
4.9 million. Let's say 5.
We can give them 5.
Give them the benefit.
Let's give them 5.
We'll be generous.
Yeah,
5 million.
We pay taxes on the others. Let's just give them 5. So if you ever wonder who's going to win the presidency,
it's not even close.
This right here is the vote. What you're looking at is who wins the presidency in 2024.
Exactly.
This is exactly what this is. This is a good picture of who is going to win. Just go on TikTok. It tells you everything you need to know. I just wanted to put that out there. Crazy.
Then made an appearance at UFC 302 over the weekend, where the New Jersey crowd voiced their disapproval for him by cheering for him and showering him with love. But here's what many people got wrong about the event. After fighter Kevin Holland submitted his opponent, he jumped out of the octagon in what many erroneously thought was a move to honor President Trump. But luckily, our fact checkers have corrected what your senses perceived by stating that Kevin Holland was just showing President Trump how to escape from a cage in case he is sentenced to prison. And in further news, after his main event victory, UFC...
All right, that was a good one. That was a good one, JP.
Okay. All right. All right. I see what
I
you
see
did
what you
there.
just did here. All right, I appreciate that.
Star Sean Strickland had this to say.
President Trump, you're the man, bro. It is a damn travesty what they're doing to you. I'll be donating to you, my man. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Congratulations, sir.
As you can see, everyone despises this criminal, and the more he's persecuted, the less popular he gets. It is kind of weird how dangerous men love Trump and most dangerous women love Biden. Moving along. Fauci now has to pretend to be accountable for his actions in new congressional testimony. And it's going pretty good. In his testimony, Science himself admitted that he just kind of made up all those social distancing rules that work so well. In his testimony, he succeeded in not being able to name one study that supported masking children. And for Fauci, the plot thickened like a Pfizer blood clot when he was asked if he had seen any studies that supported the 6-foot social distancing rule that he's been so sexually attracted to. His response was, "I was not aware of studies." And he went on to say that would be very difficult to study. That's how science works. If it's difficult to study, don't study it, and instead just make it up, because that's easier and therefore more scientific. Stay tuned to see if Fauci will face jail time, because he definitely won't. And in a feel-good study out of China, revolutionary new airbags are being developed to protect the heads and hips of elderly people when they fall. The airbags deploy in less than 0.18 seconds. Once these airbags are made more durable and are ready for some rigorous testing, the White House has volunteered, saying they have an excellent candidate that can do some testing.
I was so anxiously waiting to see the implication he was about to make. And I'm like, oh, is he going to apply it somewhere? Yes, he did.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, man, I can't believe. You know, the Democrats are really out of their mind crazy. For example, they say Trump was not allowed to, it wasn't they, it was the FBI who said Trump is too incompetent to stand trial when it comes to the laptop and everything else that's going on there.
Biden.
But he is competent enough.
Biden was too.
I mean, I'm sorry, completely erase that. Biden wasn't competent enough to stand trials when it comes to the laptop and all that stuff that's going on with Ukraine, whatever they were doing. So, but he's still good enough to be president, though.
Yeah. Figure that one out. How does that make any sense whatsoever?
That makes no sense. That makes no sense.
And yet they're trying to withhold the audio tapes from the congressional
Yeah, we have
hearing
that too.
That's investigating him to see exactly what was said and what was edited out of the transcript that they were given to see how bad his cognitive functions were. Like that, you gotta understand the thing. When the Hugh report came out, they have the transcript, right? But the transcript can edit out things like when Biden is talking and goes, so anyway, the thing, about the thing and the why am I here?
You know the thing.
And it can edit that out. It can leave out that type of thing.
Yeah, of course.
So they want the actual audio tapes and transcripts. And what the DOJ has done has blocked the Congressional Hearing Committee from getting those transcript tapes and listening to them behind executive privilege. So they can't listen to them. Because they know that if they do, it's going to be so alarming that they'd probably end up using 21st Amendment.
Interesting. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So no wonder why he's going to be in contempt.
And that's why Fauci, or not, Merrick Garland is currently being questioned and being held in contempt of
Yeah,
Congress.
of course. It's like somebody's hiding something. Like, what else could we possibly say if you don't want to? If you don't want to, reveal what's on the tapes anyway, the transcript.
Yeah. It's like the left always says, if you ain't got nothing to hide, you ain't got nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it doesn't apply when it comes to
Them.
them.
And
That's
going
it for today's news.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and going back to the charges against Trump, it's like, why is it that you go and ask anyone on the opposite side, what were the charges against Trump? Why did he get convicted? No one has an answer.
Nobody
They
knows.
don't know.
Nobody knows.
It's because they were bogus.
No.
They had to go back and extend the the statute of limitations
Yeah.
just to even come up with a charge, and then bookend it with 2 federal charges,
Mm-hmm.
which were bogus to begin with. And
Yeah.
even the FEC said, no, these are not federal campaign funds that are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
This is a legit business expense.
Yeah.
And it just, none of it made any sense. None of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have Nate the lawyer is going to break it down for us today too as well.
Mhm.
So it's really good to check it out. And I do have another video from a lawyer. His name is let me pull him up for you. We're not gonna watch that today, but in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Professor Jed Rubenfeld. He is base. Like he looks at the law for face value. He's not left, he's not right. He's more independent from the way he approaches the matter.
Mhm.
He gives a fair assessment of what happened. And boy, he destroyed everything. He shows you how many violation was actually took place in that courtroom and how Trump was done wrong. And he even goes into all that details about the statute of limitation and everything else. He addresses that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good point. We live in a very sad world, my friend. We live in a very sad world, and our world is changing. Oh, listen, guys.
Juneteenth. Yay, go
I don't know,
Juneteenth.
why do we even celebrate this? Because we are
I don't
Americans.
know. It's a
We are
joke.
Americans. I don't know why we like to separate black and white and Juneteenth and
It's the
there's
regressive
only one,
left.
and there's only one independence. I don't know what people are talking about. I mean, black Americans fart also. I mean, it's just silly to me. Like we're doing this. Like it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's why I don't celebrate that stuff. I just let people do what they do. But Biden got caught here trying to dance. Well, let's just
I'm
say.
more curious about what in the heck is that gold sparkly thing on the left.
Yeah, so
How'd that get in there?
yeah. Well, that's a
I thought that type of thing wasn't accepted in the black community.
yeah. Well, things have changed over time, I guess. Let's take a listen. All right.
What are those shoes? Oh my word!
Those
He ain't
shoes are
even on
cool.
rhythm.
Yeah, but look at Kamala though. She's trying to put on some moves, but Joe Biden looks like he is lost out of his mind. Like,
Yeah, he looks lost and confused. Like, what am I
somebody
doing?
help! Where is Jill Biden when you need her?
I don't wanna love nobody but you. I don't wanna love nobody but you.
You could tell they're trying so hard to be relatable. It's not even honest. And this is a good song from Kirk Franklin.
That's a huge cringe face on him right now. He's like, "Get me out of here!"
Jill, help! Jill Biden is like, somebody take his hands and guide him away from these black people.
He's all I can see going across his mind right now is the racial jungle's gonna engulf me.
Yeah, they're gonna put you back in chain. Excuse me, I was never in chain. What are you talking about? This guy's out of control, crazy. Anyway,
He's touching me. He's touching me. Smile, smile. Yeah, fist bump. Yeah.
you just make a fist.
I'll bump it so he
Uh,
doesn't punch me in the face. Yeah.
hey, America, this is your president.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, you've done did it. It's not even proper English, but you've done did it.
Yep.
Look at this. This is a joke.
Hey, Toy Mom Bear.
I can't take it anymore. Poor guy. He's going through so much.
It's gotten to the point where this is like elderly abuse.
Yeah, it's very obvious what's going on here. I want to laugh a little bit because these two are gonna make you laugh because they're gonna make you laugh. But before we get to that, let's react to a few more videos. By the way, this is a former Black Panther Party chief, David Hilliard.
Oh,
Listen to what he said. That video is going viral on X as well.
that's a
I
dude.
thought this is good, and he's sharing his perspective about Donald Trump.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I thought that was a woman.
that's a woman that he's going to introduce to. He's on the side of the camera.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Welcome to the random site. I want you to meet someone who knew Donald Trump, and he's going to tell you about Donald Trump in his own words.
My name is David Hilliard, founding member of the Black Panther Party. I knew Trump when Trump was a college student in New York, and he supported the Black Panther Party. That's how I know Trump.
What kind of person do you think Donald Trump is?
Trump is a person who's a decent man, and he supported the Black Panther Party. That's what I just mentioned to you. He was someone who gave us money, and Trump was a decent guy.
Mm-hmm.
Trump?
Yes.
Trump's a friend of African Americans, and I knew Trump from the 1960s in New York, where he comes from, and he's a friend to African Americans.
Oh, and now when you say a friend to African American, what do you mean by friend to African American?
I mean he's not a racist. He's not a racist, fascist white man. He supported black people. Owned every brownstone in a place called Harlem, New York.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, do you remember the time that Trump supported Jesse Jackson?
No, but I remember when he supported the Black Panther Party.
Wow. That's incredible. And how did he support the Black Panther Party?
With his money.
Whoa, for real. My goodness.
He gave us money.
So, in your opinion, Trump has always been, now that he has these 34 counts of being a felon, Trump has always been part of the black community, or familiarized at least with the black community.
That's exactly right. Trump was a friend to people of African American descent, and he owned all of Harlem.
Wow, that's amazing. So, in your opinion, sir, your valued opinion, why do you think they put all these charges on Trump, and they're afraid of him to be president?
Because Trump likes Africans in America. He likes black folks. That's one. I think that Trump is qualified and a very decent approach to having somebody representing America. Trump's a decent man.
I agree with you, and I think Trump would be able to get us off this government thing and get us to making our own money, because he knows how to make money. He knows how to lose money, and so he would be the perfect person to help us get our own again, right?
And Trump's a friend of African Americans. He's always been a friend of black people. That's how I know Trump.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And what is your name, sir?
My name is David Hilliard, founding member of the Black Panther Party.
Oh, my God. Well, that's amazing. You're a well-known figure in the Bay Area. So we thank you for taking a moment out of your valued time to give us an interview for the Random Site. Thank you, sir.
All power to the people.
Okay, so you've heard it straight from David Hilliard's mouth, the founding member of the Black Panther Party supporting Donald Trump. Thank you very much. This has been your host, Carol D. Mitchell, on the Random Side.
Wow.
That,
That's serious.
I mean, and I think that's the thing is Trump doesn't appeal to the mainstream black people
No.
like Jesse Jackson or the Al Sharptons of the world.
Yeah.
He appeals to the grassroots
Yeah.
black people of the world.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that mean something.
Yeah. But that's what Trump has today. He has the people as a whole. If you notice, like the unelected bureaucrats, the rich, a lot of these people, right? I mean, he has a few friends that are rich. We understand that too. But his base is the people. And that's why he does what he does. When he was on that interview with Dr. Phil, that's what he said. He's like, one of the reasons why I keep doing this because the people support me. He feels the love coming from the people. Or else he would have quit. When you can raise $400 million in a matter of 5-something days after your conviction.
Yeah, in less than a
Like,
week.
bruh. That tells you one thing. We love you. That's all it means.
It tells you all you need to know.
Yo, we love you. Do your thing, man. Do your thing, but don't look back. Don't get discouraged. So I appreciate that. Here is another one. I like this guy. I like his voice too. You listen to him.
I can't help but notice the ominous feeling in the air the closer that we get to November 5th. This election is huge. It is literally America first or America gone. Trump right now is in a very heavy position. They have thrown everything they can at this man, the powers that be, and nothing seems to stick. And in fact, he's gaining more support and more momentum than ever before. And I just feel in the midst of this, they're going to try to throw something major at him. And I pray for his safety in Jesus' name. Truly, I truly believe that Trump is a good man. And the people who are in charge are full of lies and deception. I've noticed something. The more that you fixate your eyes on God, the more he reveals to you about this world. He truly shows you the deception and how it runs deep. Because after all, Satan is the author of lies, isn't he? He's made of them. So it just makes perfect sense that being that he's in high places, he's the one who is running this world with the deception running rampantly deep. So make sure that you keep your eyes on God throughout all of this. This is what is going to get us through no matter what. Have a good one.
That's the truth.
Ain't that the fact?
I can't.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
For
There's
sure.
a text in scripture where Jesus says Satan is the prince of the power of the air. It's in Ephesians chapter 2. It's also in John chapter 12. He calls him the prince of this world. But he doesn't have full control, though. He has partial. It's kind of like a how do I say this? He's like an under shepherd in a sense. He has control as long as it is given to him. That's the best way I can explain it. So that's the level of control he has. I think if humanity, for example, will surrender to Jesus and believe the word of God, Satan will lose his power over here. But the fact he has an audience, he has followers, he has sympathizers, if I may use that for lack of word, this is why we see what we see today, So I love the way he just made that application. But the truth is America first or America gone?
Yeah.
When you look at what's happening now, and like you and I started the video, we're talking about the condition of things is so bad. I don't know how. I don't know what's gonna happen. For the Lord to fix this mess is gonna get really, really crazy. It's mucky, it's dirty, it's filthy. The rubbish is really so deep that cleaning up that thing is gonna take more than just a Donald Trump.
It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Certainly.
It always does.
Certainly.
It's a whole cycle of good times create soft men men create hard times create hard men create easy times.
Yes. Yeah, I
and
like that.
it's just a cycle.
It's a cycle, and that's kind of where we headed now. Good news for those of you who work in a restaurant who get tips, and even those of you who run YouTube channels like ourselves. Donald Trump has a message for you.
This is the first time I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. We're not going to do it, and we're going to do that right away, first thing in office, because it's been a point of contention for years and years and years. And you do a great job of service. You take care of people. And I think it's going to be something that really is deserved. More importantly, popular or unpopular. I do some unpopular things, too, if it's right for the country. I do what's right. But so those people that have jobs in restaurants, whatever the job may be, a tipping job, we're not going after for taxes anymore. This will be ended. And I announced that for the first time I've brought it up. First time anyone's brought it up. I think it's never been brought up before. And I also think it's very appropriate.
That is beautiful. Yeah, I know under the Biden administration, we started to get taxed on everything. Every dime that comes to your account, you get taxed for it. Even
And then
online.
you get taxed for it again when you pay for stuff, and
Yeah, you get
property tax.
Yeah, you get taxed on the things that you pay tax on.
Yeah.
You've already paid tax on. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Like our founding fathers must be rolling over in their graves right now, amount of the taxes we pay.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and most of that money is going places to fight wars in countries that we don't even
Have
we
any
have nothing
business
to do with.
being involved in?
Yeah, we're not involved in these wars. They started those wars and they use our money to fund the wars. And these money are being. I saw a video recently where a guy was talking in Ukraine. Most of the money that is going there is rebuilding the Ukrainian government, and it's also helping reestablishing the system altogether. It's not even a funding for the war anymore. A lot of that is being used for their own pocketing.
Personally, I
Like,
can't prove it, but I think it's just a giant money laundering scheme. But
oh, surely is. I mean, feels like it, you know, certainly feels like it. But we do have another video. This one is, okay, this is an act. Of course, they're acting, but the message is very loud. I love what they're doing here. This is a grandma and a daughter, and she's in the car, and grandma's coming in. But I love grandma's face, man. She's all over Facebook. They got so many videos on Facebook, but her face is epic, and her attitude, I love it. Look at this.
Woo! I gotta stop at Walmart. Gotta return this. It was. I don't even know what to say.
Don't say anything.
Mom,
What?
we are not going anywhere with you in that shirt.
Oh, yes, we are. We most certainly am.
Oh, no, we're not.
I am. You maybe. But we're in the same car, so we're going together.
No.
you're muted.
I am voting for a convicted felon. For the convicted felon. That's what it says.
Yep.
Just so you know.
Oh yeah. I actually I have the ability to read things backwards, which is really cool.
Oh,
So
that's great.
I was reading it and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. I'm voting
Oh
for the
man,
convicted
this is
felon.
great. This is epic.
We're in the same car, so we're going together.
No. Listen, we're at your house, so you have the capability of going to change that shirt.
I'm not changing the shirt. We're going together.
Why do I put up with things like this?
Do you love me?
Mom, I don't do politics.
You don't. I do. And I'm voting for him. The other one I can't vote for because I personally think he's sick
What do you mean he's sick?
in the brain. He's sick in the brain.
What do you mean sick? Old?
Old. He says things that if
Okay, I get it.
he's promised this, he's promising this, and promised. Why hasn't he done that in the last 4 years? No, I'm voting for him.
Okay, well, Mom, you don't have to let the whole world know.
Yes, I do. I want them all to know how I feel.
Why do they need to know how you feel?
I hope they all say the same thing, that you feel the same way. He's not a capable president.
Okay, but is this about A or is this about B, Mom? A is who's there now, B is this.
I'm talking about B. He's the one that straightened our country out before, and he can do it again. You know, I really want to do this, but I'm not.
Do not give the finger, Mom. Do not do. We don't do that. We do church now. We do church.
What's that got to do with my finger?
Because if you do something bad from the heart, you don't have the spirit in you. Right now, I don't know what spirit's in you. What does it say, Mom?
She said, I don't know what. Grandma's good, man. Grandma.
It's the I don't care spirit. I'm doing what I want to do. Darn it! You're gonna listen.
Oh, I love the elderly. I've spent years of my life working with them, so I can hang with them all day. I have an old soul, so this is great. Oh man, she's not done.
What does it say, Mom? You don't even know what it says? I'm voting for a convicted felon.
I'm voting for a convicted felon. And that's all you need to know.
Mom.
Yeah?
Listen. I'm sure lots of presidents have done things they shouldn't have done. He's just been one of the ones that have been called out on it. Because they don't want him in office, Mom. And you're going to walk around with this t-shirt.
It's not what they want, it's what we want. The people.
Okay, Mom.
And I'm voting for him.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
You ready to go, Mom?
Mine.
Oh, you have a jacket? You know, it's cold where we're going.
I'll throw you my jacket.
I know, you have to button up.
No, I don't have to button
You
up.
gotta button up, Mom.
Let's fucking go.
You just cussed.
Is there anything I could do that you can't do? Or that you don't want to do? Or whatever?
Grandma is outrageously funny.
Grandma is on it today.
She said, I'm voting for a convicted felon. I love it, man. I love the attitude.
It's like, I don't care.
I don't care what you say. Who cares how you feel? I'm voting for who I want to vote for. Yeah, man. Yeah. I tell people, make up your mind. Make up your mind. There's some people that I saw online, they were trying to say to me that this is happening to Trump because that's exactly what they want to happen so that Trump could win. Because if Trump wins, they can get what they want in the long run. I was like, I think you're trying to complicate things a little bit too much. I say I'm not of that conviction that they're doing this to Trump so that Trump could win so that they can get what they want in the end. Like,
No.
I don't think so.
Trump threw a giant monkey wrench into their plans the first time around. That was an unplanned, unexpected thing for them.
Yeah, Trump stepped out of line a long time ago, and he's been doing things in ways that has made some people really, really upset.
I mean, why would they make up an entire fake dossier for him? Then you had the whole Russia collusion hoax. I mean, then you have a whole bunch of other stuff that they were trying to go after him for. They tried to impeach him twice. That didn't stick. It's like, what in the world makes you think that this is what they want?
No, because he's going.
Everything they've done up until this point has been trying to keep him and get him out of office.
Yeah,
because he's not part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
It's very obvious he's not part of the plan. That's why he's such a problem. That is just, it's too obvious to miss it. So to trying to over spiritualize the matter and trying to show the conspiratorial behind, I'm like, yo, you cannot be serious. Like I'm like, you overthinking this. These people are telling you, they're showing you their cards. They're telling you, we can't stand this guy. We want to lock him up. We want to. That's just what it is. Take it for face value. That's just what it is. To say that it's because they know people are gonna feel sorry for him and people are gonna vote for him. People who vote for him, they're gonna get what they want in the end. I'm like, yo, that's not you. They didn't expect people to still vote for him. They were hoping because he's a convicted felon, supposedly convicted felon, we will not vote for him. We will look at him and say, you know what, we can't touch this guy. We can't vote for this guy. They did not expect people to still support him to the degree that they have. $400 million, like that is ridiculous. Like
yeah,
they weren't expecting that. Nobody was expecting that. That's just way beyond what they had in mind. So
they were hoping he'd lose.
yeah, that was the goal, but that's not what happened. So anyway,
The problem is the more they throw at him, the stronger he gets.
yeah, they've only made him stronger. I did have a verse here. Anyway, let me see if I can pull this up. Let's go to the book of Daniel. Daniel had a really good perspective on this. Daniel chapter 2. The king, great men give many great gifts, and so on. Anyway, so in Daniel chapter 2, I have shared this before. Nebuchadnezzar worshipped. As much as thou sawest a stone. Yeah. Anyway, you can keep talking. I'll keep looking for this verse.
I mean, and that's the thing is they weren't expecting him to do as good as he did.
Mm-hmm.
So just the logic in and of itself, it kind of defeats the premise of their theory, and then have him to be as successful as he was and make America as prosperous as it was extremely extreme setback to their plan.
Yeah.
So there's no way that they could possibly have guessed that he could have been as successful as he was, even given all the adversity he faced in the challenges of his presidency.
Yeah. There's no way. You can't convince me otherwise. It's no way. Here is the thing. Yeah, in the book of Daniel chapter 2, and King Nebuchadnezzar is getting the dream about the metal image. But I want you to notice what Daniel says about kings. He says, Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. He did what? He changed the times and the seasons. He removed kings and set us up kings and giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that have understanding. Look at that. God is the one who chooses at the end, ultimately, who is to be kings, who is to win. Yeah, don't get me wrong. The votes of the people do matter, right? But in God's overarching will, there is almost
plan.
Like in his ultimate plan, God is sovereign above everything that's going on within where we are confined to choose. We can choose this and choose that and choose this, but ultimately God's will is going to be wrought. That is what is being said here. So in God's sovereignty, like we know that, like Plato puts it, which I don't even like quote Plato, but God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, and God is also sovereign. So at the end of the day, he has the final say. That's the point. It's like, and that's why we can still vote and choose and make certain decisions accordingly. But remember, at the end of the day, God is the one who chooses. He has the final say in every single situation that has to do with even in government. Yeah. So Nate the lawyer, we got Nate the lawyer on this one. He is breaking down. He's explaining the Trump's case. All right, without the political spin. All right, let's take a listen.
Former President Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Those are the words you're going to hear over and over again between now and November's election.
Donald John Trump. Don't choke. Is a convicted felon.
Hold on. Pause.
We have gone over
Pause,
a cliff
pause,
in
pause, pause,
America.
real quick, real
This
quick.
verdict is a verdict of someone who was forced to fight a 1,000-pound gorilla with both hands tied behind his back. We have convicted a former president.
All right, you just say pause it. Sorry.
Sorry. I like Whoopi's first comment. He's a confected.
Confected. You know,
like we threw powdered sugar on him. He's a confection.
she has not said the name Donald Trump for such a long time until now because she want to say that he's a convicted felon. So she's so desperate to say that.
Yeah.
She ended up messing it up anyway. So
I was like, oh my goodness, that was great. One of the greatest gasps I've ever seen
Yeah.
from her. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, her fat kid moment showed.
Yeah. She's a piece of work. She's a
It's
piece
like,
of work.
don't get me wrong, I'm a fat kid. I love my sweets. But
Yeah.
man, when you let it show out on national television like that, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
I'm
it is.
sorry. I had to point it out. Okay.
All right.
You can back it up a little bit.
Yeah. There we go.
Don't choke.
Between now and November's election.
Donald John Trump. Don't choke. Is a convicted felon.
I'm sorry. It gets me every time. He's a confected. Yes, we threw powdered sugar on him. He's so sweet.
Yeah, now she can say his name just to attach it to convicted felon.
Yeah.
Desperate. So desperate.
Oh.
He still can't say it right.
Is a convicted felon.
We have gone over a cliff in America. This verdict is a verdict of someone who was forced to fight a 1,000-pound gorilla with both hands tied behind his back. We have convicted a former president of the United States of America. We've gone over a cliff.
Okay, so we have the left wing saying this is the greatest day in American history, and the right wing saying this is the darkest day in American history. Let's just look at the facts. Okay, so if you haven't heard, former President Donald Trump was convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records in the state of New York. So the first thing I want to do is just see how each side is covering the story. Now, this is Ground News. It's an app that combines related news stories from all over the world and all over the political spectrum and puts it in one place so it makes it easy for us to see. Now, the best thing about Ground News, it shows you the political bias in the media. You get to see stories on the left and right and see how they are covering it. Look at some of these headlines on the left. Lock him up. Trump is now a convicted felon. And the Chicago Crusader. Hallelujah. Maxine Waters rejoices that Trump was convicted in a hush money trial. And on the right, you have things like Kangaroo Court convicts Trump in NYC Soviet show trial. Here, you even have Timcast from here on YouTube. Trump was found guilty on all counts. Trump was rigged. Case was fake. Now, the great thing about Ground News is that you don't have to go all over the internet looking for the articles. They aggregate all the articles in one place. And there's over 600 articles on this Trump situation alone. Now, this is one of the best things about this app is that you get to see all of the media bias all in one place. And then if you just want to read one of the articles, it takes you directly there by clicking read the full article. So let me do something crazy. Let me try to pull back and let you determine if the left side has it more correct or the right side has it more correct. Now, if you're a fan of getting the full picture, go to ground.news/Nate. That's ground.news/Nate. You'll get 40% off unlimited access. Now, let's cut through the crap and try to see this Trump trial without the media bias. So to accomplish this goal, we are going directly to the documents. This is the indictment. This is the statement of facts that led to the indictment, and these are the jury instructions. Now, let's start with the indictment. Trump was charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree, which is a violation of New York Penal Law Section 175.10. Even though there are 34 counts in this indictment really only encompasses 11 transactions. Now, to understand that aspect of it, we have to move to the statement of facts. The statement of facts actually tells you what facts led to the charges in the indictment. For instance, they start off by mentioning that former President Donald Trump had an agreement with American Media, Inc. That is the company that handles the National Enquirer. Now, at the end of paragraph 7, it says that the National Enquirer, who's owned by AMI, admitted in a non-prosecution agreement that's an agreement not to prosecute them, that it made a payment to a source, that source is Karen McDougal, of a story to ensure that the source did not publicize damaging allegations about the defendant, Donald Trump, before the 2016 election, thereby influence that election. I don't care what anyone else is telling you. This whole conviction and this whole trial came down to one particular story. That Stormy Daniels story, and the fact that Michael Cohen paid her $130,000 to sign an NDA. As you can see here in the statement of facts, Cohen created a shell company called Essential Consultants LLC. Michael Cohen then took out a $131,000 line of credit on his house and then transferred $130,000 to Essential Consultant LLC. But now, how is Michael Cohen going to be paid back? He was out $130,000. So Michael Cohen then started negotiating with the Trump Organization, saying that, hey, I have a $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels, and then I have another $50,000 in other expenses that I haven't been paid for. So I need to be reimbursed a total of $180,000. But now here's where things get complicated. See, if they just paid Cohen back $180,000, Cohen would have to pay tax on that money, which is about a 50% tax rate. So out of $180,000, he would only get about $90,000. So the Trump Organization agreed to pay Michael Cohen $360,000. Double. So when he paid his taxes, he would get $180,000 back. And then because Michael Cohen was a good employee, they gave him a $60,000 end of the year bonus. So that made the total that Michael Cohen was going to be repaid $420,000. Now, to pay Michael Cohen back, the Trump Organization decided to cut up the payments into 12 installments of $35,000 a month over the course of a year. Now, each payment would be labeled legal services rendered for that particular month. So, for instance, the first payment that was in January would be labeled as legal services that Michael Cohen rendered in the month of January. Now, the Trump team had confirmed that this was the plan. For instance, here's Rudy Giuliani and former President Trump explaining how this all worked.
And Michael Cohen?
Why isn't that
having something?
Where's Mueller on that, sir?
Having something to do with paying some Stormy Daniels woman $130,000? I mean, which is going to turn out to be perfectly legal. That money was not campaign money. Sorry, I'm giving you a fact now that you don't know. It's not campaign money. No campaign finance violation. So
they funneled it through the law firm.
Funneled through a law firm, and the president repaid it.
Oh, I didn't know he did.
Yeah.
There's no campaign finance law.
Zero.
So the president.
Just like Sean.
So this decision was made by.
Everybody was nervous about this from the very beginning. I wasn't. I knew how much money Donald Trump put into that campaign. I said, $130,000. He's going to do a couple of checks for $130,000. When I heard Cohen's retainer of $35,000, when he was doing no work for the president, I said, well, that's how he's repaying. That's how he's repaying it, with a little profit and a little margin for paying taxes for Michael.
But do you know the president didn't know about this? I believe that's what
he didn't
Michael
know about
said.
the specifics of it, as far as I know. But he did know about the general arrangement that Michael would take care of things like this, like I take care of things like this for my clients. I don't burden them with every single thing that comes along. These are busy people.
Did you know about the payments?
Later on, I knew. Later on. But you have to understand, Ainsley, what he did, and they weren't taken out of campaign finance. That's a big thing. That's a much bigger thing. Did they come out of the campaign? They didn't come out of the campaign. They came from me, and I tweeted about it. You know, I don't know if you know, but I tweeted about the payments. But they didn't come out of campaign. In fact, my first question when I heard about it was, did they come out of the campaign? Because that could be a little dicey. And they didn't come out of the campaign, and that's big. But they weren't, it's not even a campaign violation.
So this confirms that there was an arrangement. Trump and Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, said Trump knew about the arrangement, and that since this money didn't come from campaign contributions, it was out of Trump's own pocket, there was nothing illegal with this arrangement. The FEC and the federal government also agreed with this assessment because when they investigated, they cleared the Trump Organization of any wrongdoing. And here is a former commissioner of the FEC explaining why this was okay.
Hi, I'm Hans von Spakovsky. I'm a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation, but I also spent 2 years as a commissioner at the Federal Election Commission. That's the federal agency responsible for enforcing the Federal Election Campaign Act, which regulates how candidates for federal office raise and spend money. The supposed campaign finance violation that the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York is claiming is actually not a violation of campaign finance laws. Here's why. In order for the rules to apply, it has to be a campaign-related expense. The Justice Department only once before has tried to claim that these kind of payments are a campaign-related expense. That's when they attempted to prosecute John Edwards. Remember that case? Contributors to John Edwards actually paid money to his mistress, who actually was working for the campaign and had his child. A jury did not believe these were campaign-related expenses, and in fact, John Edwards had 2 former commissioners of the FEC there to testify these were not campaign-related expenses. In fact, when the FEC audited his campaign, the agency itself concluded these were not campaign-related expenses. So this really is not a problem for the president, even though Michael Cohen is pleading guilty to this, because the U.S. Attorney's Office is basically being over-aggressive on this issue. If you take their views to its extreme, it would mean that any time a candidate pays off a legal claim against it, that's a campaign-related expense. Well, if that's the case, remember in 2017 it was reported that members of Congress have paid over $17 million to pay off almost 300 claims made against those members of Congress for sexual harassment and other claims like that. If the U.S. Attorney's Office is right, then all of those would be campaign-related expenses. Why? Because those payments were meant to silence the people making the claim so that the candidates would not be embarrassed. And obviously there's potential violations of campaign finance law. Why? Because taxpayer money was used to pay off a campaign-related expense. That just shows how irrational the view is of the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York, and how far outside it is of the usual view of campaign finance law and violations under it.
Now, over the next 11 months, Michael Cohen was issued 1 check per month for $35,000, 11 checks in total. Now, with each one of those checks came an invoice, and the company recorded it in a ledger. Now, if you do the math, that's 33 counts. But the reason why there's 34 counts is because on the first check, they made 2 entries into the general ledger and only issued 1 check. So now we've seen the government's side of the coin, what they're alleging, why they're alleging it, and why each.
Real quick, I also want to add in that while Michael Cohen was on the stand, he also testified that he was skimming money off of Trump's books.
Yeah.
While he was doing all the finances for Trump to the tune of, I think, $60,000.
That's crazy.
In addition to all this money he's being paid for all this out of Trump's personal pocket.
Yeah. Now they're gonna say that's not relatable to the case. That's why they didn't even consider it, because they should have considered that, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, just saying, not only did Cohen set all of this up, Cohen did it all out of his own pocket on his own dime, but he also stole from Trump.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Vader's daughter. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you.
So who's really at fault in all this? Obviously, it's not Trump.
Yeah. Good point. All right, let's keep going.
It's side of the coin, what they're alleging, why they're alleging it, and why each count is what it is. But now let's talk about the defense. Now, the first claim of the defense is selective prosecution. The Manhattan DA who prosecuted the case, his name is Alvin Bragg. He actually ran on a platform to, quote unquote, get Trump. And again, his platform was he is going to get Donald Trump.
And we are together with Alvin Bragg today, running for Manhattan District Attorney to try to remove Cy Vance, I think, whose Cy's been sitting on the gig for a couple of decades. Right, Alvin?
He's a decade. He's going on 12 years at the end of his term. So
12. So, I have my issues with Cy Vance, and there's things that I believe he hasn't done well. But one of the things leading into this vote for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, I know a lot of people are wondering, whoever has this job, are they going to convict Donald Trump?
Look, that is the number one issue. We know he's investigating. And what I'll say is I was the first to announce against Cy Vance. I too have a lot of issues, which is why I decided to run. I'm the candidate in the race who has the experience with Donald Trump. I was the chief deputy in the Attorney General's office. We sued the Trump administration over 100 times for the Muslim travel ban, for family separation at the border, for shenanigans with the census. So I know how to litigate with him. I also led the team that did the Trump Foundation case. So I'm ready to go wherever the facts take me and to inherit that case. And I think, it'd be hard to argue with the fact that that'd be the most important, most high profile case. And I've seen him up front and seen the lawlessness that he can do.
And you believe it should happen?
I believe we have to hold him accountable. I haven't seen all the facts beyond the public, but I've litigated with him. And so I'm prepared to go where the facts take me once I see them and hold him accountable.
Now, the second claim may not be as obvious.
All right. Well, Darth Vader's daughter, thank you so much for sharing that. God bless you. It's really good to hear. You've been sober for, 3 years now. Well, we knew each other for 3 years thus far.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, praise the Lord. God bless you.
Amen.
Going back to what this Alvin Bragg guy is out of his mind crazy. Like, simply on that
He's
case
just as
alone.
bad as Letitia James.
Yeah, simply on that case alone. The lawyer that I listen to has a good way that he explains it. Like, it's okay for a person to say, I'm going to go get Donald Trump, right? But the problem is, for example, you can say, I'm going to go get like a drug dealer or someone. I'm going to take down a mob, some gang-related activities. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're going against a person for their political views, that's unconstitutional. That's the difference here. It's not like he's going for Trump because Trump did something really bad. He's going for Trump because of his political views. That is where the issue really gets muggy. That is crazy that he had this on record, and yet he's able to stay on that case and do what he did.
This is Banana Republic stuff.
That's Banana Republic. Yeah. He told you with his own mouth, I'm gonna do this. These are the things I'm going to do, and he did. Wow. Anyway, let's keep going. Take me once I see them and hold them accountable.
Now, the second claim may not be as obvious, but the Trump team is saying that these were legal services. Let me explain. Michael Cohen was Trump's lawyer, and Michael Cohen was tasked with negotiating settlements with people who made claims against the president. So, when Stormy Daniels made this claim against Trump, Michael Cohen went in and did exactly what he was paid to do. Negotiate a settlement, make the payment, and then get reimbursed for that payment. Legal services rendered. Now, the third argument was pretty simple. This was Michael Cohen's job for the past 10 years. Michael Cohen was known as Trump's fixer. So this wasn't anything special for the campaign, but something they had been doing for years. Now, even though morally it may seem suspect, but Donald Trump didn't want his wife and family to find out that he was having these affairs with these women. This wasn't in the furtherance of the presidential campaign, which would be illegal, but this was a man who wanted to keep his secrets from his wife. Immoral, yes, but illegal, not so much. Trump's last argument, which most people think is the strongest, is their argument against violations of the Federal Elections Campaign Act. The campaign finance law piece is extremely, and I mean extremely important, because the New York state government had to prove that Trump and the Trump organization violated federal campaign finance laws. If the New York prosecutors can convince a New York state jury that the Trump organization violated the federal election law, then they can charge Trump and the Trump organization with felonies instead of misdemeanors. The Trump team's argument is simple. As CNN reports, the feds actually cleared the Trump organization of any campaign finance violations in regards to these payments to Stormy Daniels. But now you have a jury in New York State sitting claiming that yes, the Trump organization did in fact violate campaign finance law. So on one hand, you have the federal government saying, yes, the Trump organization didn't violate federal law when it comes to campaign finance. And now you have a state judge with a state jury saying, well, we believe that he did violate federal campaign finance law. So now, in less than 20 minutes, you now know everything you need to know about why Trump was convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records. Let me know how you feel in the comments section, because half the country believes that this was a just verdict and he should have been convicted, but the other half thinks that this was a sham verdict. You heard all the arguments. Let me know in the comments section how you feel. Who do you...
Some things that he left out. The judge in the jury instructions said that not all the jury has to agree.
Yeah.
Which, number one, is not how a jury works.
No.
If the entire jury doesn't agree, that's called a hung jury.
Yeah.
And you can't get a conviction on a hung jury.
Yeah. And also Trump's team were not even told what Trump was being charged with before the charges. In other words, how could they prepare?
So there was no discovery.
There was no discovery. So they could not prepare their defense for these charges because they weren't told what they were.
And then there was a gag order put on him almost immediately.
Yeah. It's ridiculously bad. This is not a good look.
Like, this whole thing is nothing but a sham.
It is. It is. And I don't know how half of the country believed that was right. I don't know how that happened. I think these numbers are skewed, but half of the country, I think when you got 6 million followers on TikTok and you raise $400 million in a matter of a few days, that tells you more than half of the country feels like this is wrong. At least over 60-something%.
For sure.
It's just what it is. You can say that and not, you don't have to sit here and look at what Trump did and say everything he did was correct. Yeah. Immoral. Yeah. But to say that it is illegal, unlawful, no, it's not unlawful. And I still have an issue with how is Trump caught and the people on Epstein's list are still running wild, Like,
and like he said, half of Congress put out millions of dollars to do the same thing he did.
Yeah. It's just,
and yet they're still serving in Congress.
Yeah, I don't understand this logic. This is not really making any sense to me, Yeah. All right, Phil, you said, let me read your thoughts here. All distraction sham, trails in the skies, and they spray them very high. But when they come down to you're talking about something different here. The country can vote and they are unalive. In town. They're talking about the chemtrails. Yeah, I heard about that too. There's something weird about that. There's something about that is disturbing. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty sad. This is kind of like innocent. This is guilty until proven innocent kind of thing. He was set up. And he did say even Mother Teresa could not get out of this.
It's like back in the day, they turned around and said, show me the man and I'll show you the crime.
There we go. And that's kind of what happened here. But I think it's going to be okay. It's just the crazy thing is this could have a number of effects, like on him. By the time this gets out, like the name convicted felon alone is causing people not wanting to vote for him. That itself is the problem.
But then again, on the other hand, it's also getting others that didn't want to vote for him before to vote for him.
Yeah, they become more committed than anything. So there's a bright side and a dark side to the story here. So
I mean,
but guess what? If Trump loses this year in November, he's going to refer to a lot of the things that they did to him as the reason why. And he's going to have a really, really strong case this time. If you think 2020's case, although I think there's some legitimate factors behind that, if you think some of his claims in 2020 were bad, well, in 2024, his claims for an election interference is going to be even louder, and he's going to have a very, very good reason now to say, yep, they interfered in the election. Here are the following reasons why this is the case.
And not to mention the fact that the judge's daughter's making money off of this. I mean,
Over
she's
90
already
something
made
million dollars. Yeah.
$4 million off this, $4 billion off of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why he put the gag order on her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the judge didn't want that getting out. The judge had a conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm. That's a problem. All right. Well, let's move on. There's a lot we can say about this, but I'm telling you what, Trump is in serious trouble, but it's not over though, because we the people understand. All right, hip hop did damage in the black community. Let's take 5 minutes of this, man. This is Pastor Bishop Wooden.
Now we're celebrating 50 years. 50 years. Right. I don't care if these feminists can talk about toxic masculinity and all that. Every woman who's married to a strong man, I didn't say a mean man. I didn't say a cruel man. I didn't say an ungodly man. But every woman who's married to a strong man is glad she's married to that strong man. She's glad that she ain't got to do everything. She ain't got to preach, pray, and sing. And call, pay all the bills and come up with all the answers. Oh, my Lord. They solve all the problems. Go to all the school meetings by herself. Went through prenatal care alone.
Teaching good.
Go to church on Sunday, your husband sitting there, well, yeah, let the Lord bless you. Well, he watching the game. What kind of man is that? What kind of man is that? You know, we're celebrating, they've been celebrating 50 years of hip hop. I hate hip hop. I think the worst thing that happened to the black community was hip hop. I'm old enough to remember, 50 years, I'm 62. I'm old enough to remember what black folk looked like before hip hop. Before hip hop, we pulled our pants up. Before hip hop, you didn't see a man's drawers walk around in public. Before hip hop, our women didn't draw all over their bodies, tattoo all over themselves. Before hip hop, our singers didn't sing songs calling our women female dogs, chicken heads, skeezers, and the women didn't call themselves that.
They didn't do it.
Before hip hop. Praise the Lord. Before hip hop, when Aretha Franklin said, "You make me feel like a natural woman," that was before hip hop. Since hip hop, he make me feel like I'm a female dog. Hip hop. The country and western crooner sings and respects his woman. The rock and roll singer sings and respects their woman. Wish they all could be California girls. Amen.
You're right,
we ain't gonna go back and get the Temptations, all them boys. Amen. Major Harris said, "Love won't even let me wait."
He won't do it. That's what he said.
And then they came out with, oh, here we go. We went down. Down. Look at how we dress. Down. Look at how we walk. Down. This is how we talk. Down. And people celebrating that. And see, some of you sisters, you're not 50, so you were born in being called. You think that's the way it has always been. You were born in being called female dogs in the music. So you were born with the music putting you down. Ain't nobody singing to you, my sister, about turning your brown eyes blue. That was saved for the white girl. See, because now our men used to sing like that to our women. But something else happened. Hip hop. So now we're celebrating 50 years. 50 years. You don't even dress up on the stage no more. Get up there in boots and jeans and a t-shirt and all the gold and cussing and swear. No move, no smoothness, just going from one side of the stage to the and that's artistry. That's artistry. And we're supposed to appreciate that. The next thing you know, we started telling everybody to kill the police, shoot each other. You got the East Coast, West Coast, war, black folk killing each other over streets that the white man owns.
Explain that. You're right.
These are my streets. No, they're not your streets. And when the white man get ready to show you who owned those streets, he just go take the street back. Now you done got your head blowed off, done lost 3.
I mean, he ain't wrong
And people,
He didn't see a single thing that I disagree with.
at all. Not at all.
Tough love.
You know, sometimes you need that tough love, and that's what it boils down to. Is, you know, the way hip hop is it's just deteriorated at the culture of black society.
Yeah, I don't
And
think
they're all about preserving the culture. Well,
Mhm.
why don't you preserve the culture pre hip hop?
Yeah, that's true. But when you point that out, they call you all kind of crazy names. You know, they have a name for that. If you speak about black culture,
Uncle Tom,
subculture, yeah, Cool, Uncle Tom, what is it, Blackity White or something like that. Anyway, they have a bunch of funny names that they give you. But the fact is, what he's saying here is true. I don't think we realize the damage that hip hop has had in the psyche of black families and our sons and daughters. I don't think we realize the damage it had. Like, we can talk about racism and all that in America, but nothing has done more damage to the black community than the music that we've indulged, the lifestyle of these artists. They've discipled the community to behave certain way. I can look at my own life before the Lord saved me. Like, I had 2 earrings here. I was this close to get tattoos. I'm not saying tattoos are bad, but I was doing it for the culture. But it was like I had my pants sagging. I couldn't talk to you without saying the N word in like 5 times in one sentence. I remember that being in New York, Brooklyn, New York. And this is a Haitian boy. I wasn't even born in the United States. I was raised in Haiti. So I came here at the age of 13. In just a matter of 5 or 6 years, like, hip hop transformed my culture until I became a Christian in 2000, at the age of 26, 2010. But anyway, I remember that just sitting in that environment alone, I saw the influence that it had on me. And this is not to say I'm not blaming hip hop, because if you choose to put these things in your ears and you listen to that, these are your choice. You can't blame the genre for that. You can choose to listen to the gospel if you wanted to. It doesn't matter what part of the world you live. These were my own decisions, but I remember the influence he had on me, though, like the perspective that it had, and everything else. And again, the friends and the environment and what you saw, the school you went to, all of that plays a role. But
Pull up Mark 4.
yeah,
Mark 4:24 through 28.
Mark 4. Okay.
Starting at verse 24.
Mark 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said unto them, take heed what ye hear, with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you, and unto you that hear shall more be given.
Mm-hmm.
For he that hath to him shall be given,
Mm-hmm.
and he that hath not from him shall be taken, even that which he hath.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, so is the kingdom of God, as if a man should cast seed into the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring and grow up, he knoweth not how.
For the earth bringeth forth fruit of herself, first the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. So basically, what's going on here is Mark is talking about how what you listen to
Mhm.
and what you that it plants a seed in your mind,
Mhm.
and once that seed is planted, it's going to grow
Mm.
and it's going to bring forth fruit. Whatever that seed is that you plant, whether
Mhm.
it be hip hop, whether it be
Mhm.
Christian music, whether it be heavy metal, whatever the case may be, whatever that seed you plant, it's going to bear fruit one
Yeah.
way or another.
Yeah. You
And
know that old saying, "You are what you eat." Well,
exactly.
you are what you think about.
And you
But
are what you hear
what you
and you
hear. So
consume.
those for you to have those thoughts pattern, you have to receive the information.
Exactly.
So what kind of
And
information have we been indulged over time? This is what we've been
and
indulging.
that's what this is getting at, is careful what you consume,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be through visual reference or audio reference, because this is what you are going to pattern yourself after.
Absolutely.
And this is what's going to grow inside you, and this is what's going to make you who you are.
Mm-hmm. I can say that's 100% fact. Let me share one more verse. Philippians 4 verse 8. Finally, my brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are a good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. So meditate, think, listen, take in the stuff that are true, pure, lovely, honest. So if you are meditating on the exact opposite of these things, what should you expect?
Hmm.
You know, so I think the culture has completely lost it. And that's why when people are talking about black community issues, they throw money at the problem. They talk about racism. They talk about jobs. But I'm like, the real issue is a character though. It's a character problem we have. We have a spiritual problem. The reason the families are broken is because of the character issue. The reason the fathers are not in a home is because of that. Now we can blame London B. Johnson. Yeah, true, I agree. But hip hop made it all possible. Like without hip hop, this would not have been the case. Women degraded themselves, men elevating themselves, made it all possible because of the information we were given to the music. That's why it all worked out. That's why like
and
other
and
communities.
even so, that's still only a small portion of it.
Yeah.
Like I'd say that's only like 10 to 20% of
Yeah.
the larger issue at hand,
Yeah.
because when you really boil it down, is everybody has to take personal responsibility for their actions
Amen.
in the end. And that's really gets to the heart of what everything is if you don't take personal responsibility for what you do and what you put out there in the world,
Mhm. Mhm.
like this says, if you don't sit there and meditate on it and think about what you're doing and before you act upon it,
Mm.
you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And so often I find people who turn around and do things without acting and just spontaneously jump out there and do whatever they feel like they
Mm.
need to do or they want to do, and end up in trouble,
Yeah.
and then are looking for a way out. And it's like, sometimes you can help them, but sometimes it's like, hey man, you just
Mhm.
gotta you're
It's
gonna
the
have to
music.
face the
Mhm.
music.
Yeah, I agree. Sad. But thank you for that. All right, we got a good one for you today, right now. Okay, so this is Christian destroys gay marriage at Oxford Union. This is a good one.
May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord. I was going to say thank you for the warm introduction, but I think instead I'll say thank you for the invitation. That's far more charitable. It's a genuine pleasure to speak here this evening, it really is. I'm happy to be back at the Oxford Union. It wasn't too long ago that I was based here myself. And I'm very happy to be part of an organisation that is still standing up for free speech, still standing up for diversity of thought and opinion, going against the approved narrative of academia in the 21st century. So well done to you all for that. Now, I genuinely struggled with this one. I've struggled sleeping this week, actually. I don't get stage fright. I never get nervous when I go on television. I recently debated at the Cambridge Union and the Durham Union, no problem whatsoever. But there's something different about this one. It's been causing me anxiety. So someone kindly sent me Luke chapter 12, verses 11 to 12, saying, "And when they bring you before the synagogues and the rulers and the authorities, do not be anxious about how you should defend yourself and what you should say, for the Holy Spirit will teach you in that very hour what you ought to say." I know there's something a bit ironic about me coming here with a prepared speech after that, but why do I feel anxiety about this? Well, we are up against the authorities. 3 bishops from the established church. That means either I am wrong, and Christians have been teaching incorrectly for the last 2,000 years, and Jews and Christians for the last 4,000 to 6,000 years, or we have church leaders attempting to drag the church into apostasy. Neither way is good. The consequences are severe. This debate is not just happening in this chamber. This debate is happening in real time in the House of Bishops as we speak. There's a growing number of vocal bishops who want to change the church's teaching on marriage. The result being the spiritual neglect of Anglicans up and down this country. Now, I may have trained at the last remaining sound Anglican seminary up the road at St. Stephen's House, but I am a newbie deacon. So perhaps I am wrong on this. Let's consult people wiser than myself, starting with the church fathers. St. Thomas Aquinas, in his Summa Theologica, quite clearly identifies matrimony as being between one man and one woman, beneficial for begetting of children, and for the good of offspring for both educational and developmental purposes, necessary for the perfection of the community and for the worship of God. St. Paul describes marriage as, "Therefore a man leaves his father and his mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh," in which he is mirroring the language of Genesis, where God tells man and woman to be fruitful and multiply. Both Aquinas and Paul refer to matrimony as a sacrament, a holy mystery in which one man and one woman are joined together in conjugal union with the potential to be blessed by the grace of God with children, to start a family for the worship of God. People will often argue in this debate, we know more about homosexuality now than we did then. Maybe so. But are we really going to suggest that God knew less then than we know now? For either all of Scripture is God-breathed, or it isn't. Either we believe Christ, or we don't. So let's refer to another source, the Book of Common Prayer, one of the Anglican formularies, an authority of liturgy and catechism in the Anglican Church. The prayer book lists 3 ordained reasons for matrimony. First, it was ordained for the procreation of children, to be brought up in the fear and nature of the Lord, and to praise his holy name. Second, it was ordained for a remedy against sin, and to avoid fornication, that such persons as have not the gift of constancy might marry and keep themselves undefiled members of the church's body. And thirdly, it was ordained for the mutual society, help and comfort, that one ought to have the other, both in prosperity and adversity. And if we look wider abroad to the Church Catholic, which defines in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, matrimony, the matrimonial covenant by which a man and a woman establish between themselves a partnership of the whole life, is by the nature ordered toward the good of the spouses and the procreation and education of offspring. This covenant between baptized persons has been raised by Christ the Lord to the dignity of a sacrament. This is referred to as marriage in God's plan. So are we looking to alter the catechism of just the Anglican Church or the Catholic Church too? Should they all get with the times? 2,000 years of Christian doctrine cannot be altered at the whim of a few liberal bishops. What is God ordained cannot be adjusted to suit our new liberal progressive views. Marriage is heterosexual and monogamous and should be open to the possibility of children. The Bible backs all of this up. It's very clear throughout on this matter, whether it's 9 verses or 32,000 verses. Marriage is between one man and one woman for the purposes of procreation. Sex outside of marriage is a sin, and that is the same for heterosexuals as it is for homosexuals, although the Bible is quite clear that same-sex relations are abhorrent. And before some smart aleck starts asking me the question of whether I'm wearing mixed fabrics, there is a difference between the moral laws and ceremonial laws. And Christ did come to fulfill the old laws. Both the issues of marriage and homosexuality, however, are still addressed in the New Testament, in Paul's epistles, but also in the Gospels. Jesus does talk of marriage in Mark and Matthew, both in the context of heterosexual union. So my question to the bishops would be, do we not believe in the authority of scriptures anymore? Can we pick and choose which parts of the gospel we adhere to? The church, after all, is Christ's bride, as we heard earlier. Jesus is described as the bridegroom, so that we may know how he relates to us. 2 grooms would be pointless. Christ is already in union with the Father and the Holy Spirit. It's us he's inviting in. 2 brides is what we're looking at here. The church is attempting to marry itself and to leave Christ out of the picture. We are directly talking about undermining God's plan as he has revealed it to us. We're replacing his authority with our own. If marriage is no longer between one man and one woman, are we open to the idea of polygamy? We disregard the heterosexual aspect, so why not the monogamous aspect too? If love is love, as we keep hearing, who's to say that 3 men loving each other is not more love than 2 men loving each other? Shame, degeneracy. And I'm sure someone in this chamber has echoed the words love is love tonight, and this is not about love being love. This is about marriage, the sacrament of holy matrimony. It is directly connected to love, but it's not the definition of love. Too many people utter those words and confuse the meaning of love. Agape, the biblical context of love, is a divine love. It's a sacrificial love. It's not lustful. People often conflate sex with love. It's very disingenuous. We've heard quite a bit of that. But then, of course, atheists often parrot the words, God is love, and we've heard that one tonight too, again, without any understanding. Yes, God is love, but he sets the terms, not us. Another one we've heard plenty of is inclusivity. Should the church be more inclusive? Again, it's a play of words. It's virtue signaling. It's to appear good rather than to be good. The church should absolutely be inclusive. Christ spent time with tax collectors and prostitutes, but it is they who went away changed, not Christ. We are fallen, therefore we are all sinners. The church is open to sinners, of course it is. That's the purpose of the church. But it should not be to encourage people to continue to sin. Our duty as clerics is to help lead people to Christ, to lead them away from sin, not to embrace it, not to affirm it. I know many LGBT people who live lives in Christ. They abstain from sexual gratification to be closer to God, and it's not easy. It really isn't. It's perhaps not fair, but it is right and it is good. And these people are being let down. I've had people crying, saying, I could have got married, but I did what the church taught me was right, and now the church is saying they were wrong all along. I've wasted my life. As Christians, we're called to be in the world, but not of the world. The trap that we're falling into in this debate is looking at the church through the eyes of the world rather than through his kingdom. In the secular world, we already have equality in law. People can enter civil partnerships or even gay marriage outside of the church, and that's their prerogative. However, the faith is inherently discriminatory. God is discriminatory. He sets conditions on us entering his heavenly kingdom. It is not a free-for-all. We must turn away from sin, repent, and follow Christ. And I want to specify, it is the sin that is the problem, not the sinner. Every single person is loved by God, and God forgives all of us of our depravity. But we have to turn away from our sins and turn toward him. And it seems the panel opposite me has forgotten to separate the sin from the sinner. One can denounce sin while still welcoming the sinner. So as I wrap up, my message to the proposing side is, do not lead us astray. Do not lead people astray. Do not be the wolves in sheep's clothing. Do not be the false teachers that the Bible warns us about. Remember your obligation to defend the faith. Stop teaching about diversity, inclusion, and equality, and get back to teaching about redemption and salvation. This is spiritual neglect. Help people by telling them the truth. Be kind to people by supporting them through those struggles and reminding them that Christ suffers with them. And be compassionate by leading them to Christ when the world tries to lead them away from him. The church is imploding, and the faithful masses have stopped turning up on Sundays, and we are seeing the most rapid decline of Christianity in this country that we may have ever seen. Do not accelerate it with heresy. You do not have the authority to bless sin. When I hear the Bishop of London on record saying these new prayers will mean priests can bless same-sex relationships, some of which may be sexual in nature, I hear the devil at work. Bishops are promoting the idea of sacramental sodomy. Let them be anathema. Repent. And to the rest of you, I have no doubt that some of you will consider me a bigot or a transphobe or a homophobe, but I am neither of those things, none of those things. I am simply a follower of Christ, a Christian. And we are naturally countercultural. And if so-called liberals were truly diverse and tolerant, they would embrace us just as they embrace everyone else. And not right now, I'm just wrapping up. And the point has been made, but the growing Christophobic attitude around this public debate and the ugly level of hypocrisy is that we really see people hold Muslims and people of other faiths to the same expectations that they hold Christians to. Who is calling, except my good friend here, for Islam to embrace gay marriage? Who is calling for the Quran to be updated to modern societal norms? It is the same, mind your language, it is the same patronizing attitude of people that treat other faiths, patronize other faiths while being intolerant towards Christians at the same time. It's a shame, but in the words of St. Athanasius of Alexandria, if the world is against the truth, then I am against the world.
Now, some people would say Christians should just focus on. Yeah, that was great.
I mean, that's what we've been saying all along, you know? I mean, powerfully spoken.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds like somebody's struggling with his path of faith, I should say.
Yeah. You could tell he's facing some serious backlash for having these views.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord, bro. That was great that he took a bold stand. Again, a Roman Catholic taking a stand like that is beautiful to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Catholic, but men like this, I give them some serious respect.
Like, there needs to be more of him.
Yeah, it's lacking today. There's been serious compromisation from the churches. I mean, I can tell you a story that will make your belly.
Believe me, I've seen videos.
It's everywhere. It's in just about every denomination. Some of us are pushing harder than others.
Mm-hmm.
Even in my denomination as well, we've had serious. I'm like, why are we having these meetings? Like the Bible already spoke. The Bible is clear. Like I don't know what are we meeting. What are we meeting about? We're not meeting about anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, you give me some.
That doesn't fly in our church at all.
Good. Good. Save yourself some serious headaches, I'll tell you that much.
Like our church is right along the lines with this gentleman. He, love the sinner, hate the sin.
Correct. Yeah.
And the two verses I sent you are Old Testament, New Testament mirroring each other.
Yeah. Let's take a look.
For this cause shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall not be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
Okay, you give me another one in Genesis.
Yeah.
Genesis 2. Genesis 2:24. There we go.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
Oh, man.
So there you have it.
That's
directly from God and from the New Testament and the Old Testament, both. So you have the old version and the new version, both in conjunction, saying the same exact thing. You can't argue that this is what God intended. You're on mute. You're still on mute. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's biblically clear. I have no opposition to that. The Bible is abundantly clear when it comes to this. I know the culture can say what they want, but they have to fight against God and His truth in order to do whatever they want to do. But the Bible would not change. I'm sorry, I'm unable to change the Bible, even if I wanted to.
Man,
I cannot.
God made Adam and Eve, not Adam
Mhm.
and Steve.
I love that. It's true. He never made a mistake. There's no justification of this. It doesn't matter what the churches are and what they're saying and how well intended it may be. It's still not. It's never gonna be. It's never gonna be allowed. It's just that it's the word of God, man. You can't change God's word.
And when you have not just the Old Testament and the New Testament saying it, I mean, it emphasizes it not once but twice. And I'm sure there's more references in the Bible that I'm missing,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah,
it's there plain as day that it's showing you it's supposed to be one man, one woman, one flesh,
yeah,
and that's how it's supposed to be. That's what God intended.
yeah. All right, here is the one in Mark. There we go. Again, it's still making reference to Genesis 2:24. So Jesus is quoting from there.
Right.
He says, "From the beginning, God made them male and female." And God sees, actually, there's so much you can preach so much on this, theology wise, from the beginning. So it's kind of like this is something that God instituted from the start, right?
Hmm.
And
Right from the rip.
yeah, yep, of the creation, God made them male and female. So God now is telling you, I'm the author, I'm the one who instituted marriage. This is not something man came up with. This is not something we created out of nowhere.
It's not something
God
you
says,
can change.
you can't change it. God says, I'm the author. I instituted this, and I made male and female. So there goes two genders. So there's like 437 genders according to some gender ideology they're saying. According to the Bible, I don't like to use the word gender. It's really biological sex. Gender is it's
I think
supposed to be
there's
used.
200 or 400
Yeah, the
something
word gender.
mental issues, but
Yeah. The word gender is not found in the Bible. Gender really in French is a word that is used to to identify a noun as masculine or feminine. So we would use le, la, or something like that. These are genders, but even in Spanish too, you also have el, stuff like that. But anyway, I don't like to use that term because I feel like playing with the words coming from the left does change meanings of sentences and everything else.
hmm
So we have to be careful with their words. But nevertheless, the Bible says he created two sexes, male and female, period. And then he tells you what he wants you to do afterwards. He says, "For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother," the same quote you quote, "cleave unto his wife, and the twain shall be one flesh," period. So you can argue with that if you want to, but you can't be mad at me for telling you the truth.
Mm-mm.
At least we try to warn you. Anyway, let's
Yep.
see what else we got on our screen for you for today. We still got some stuff, don't
The
we?
good.
Thank you for that video. All right, so oh man, did you? Oh, gosh, this one here is gonna break your heart. This is Fox News, and they're talking about 8 people were caught that were on a Hamas list. And I say, if they caught 8, how many did they catch? How many more have been let loose? I mean, I have a lot of questions. Anyway, let's take a listen.
8 nationals from Tajikistan with suspected ties to ISIS terrorists are now in federal custody. And we thank the FBI and local authorities in the cities where they were picked up because they crossed over our southern border at some point. And they arrested these potential killers during a coordinated sting operation in New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles, sanctuary cities, of course. So how did these dangerous individuals end up in our country if there's really any vetting going on at the southern border? They crossed illegally into America. And now we ask, how do people like those men make it through in a scenario now that has blown up since President Biden's executive action last week? According to the Department of Homeland Security, the 8 men each received a, quote, full vetting. And I put that in quotes because we don't really know what that means. During which no concerning information was flagged. Fox is told the ties to terrorism and security concerns only came to light after all 8 were released into the United States. I would shout that. The prompter has exclamation points. But do I have to shout it? Is it a shock? In a joint statement to Fox News, the FBI and DHS said, quote, as the FBI and DHS have recently described in public and partner bulletins, the U.S. has been in a heightened threat environment. The FBI and DHS will continue working around the clock with our partners to identify, investigate, and disrupt potential threats to national security. All of that a quote. Well, over the past 14 months, jihadists from Tajikistan have been involved in an unusually high number of terrorist attacks, including the one in Moscow
Hold on.
at the concert hall.
They may be in a heightened aware security, but I guarantee you they're not looking for these guys. Chances are they're looking for us.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at normal, everyday, average American citizens.
Yeah. That is true.
Because that's how they do.
Well, what happened on October 7th in Israel, it should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah. I mean, the lack of information, I mean, come on. Yeah. You don't have that big a gap in intel to allow something like that to happen without somebody blocking it purposely.
Yeah, agree.
It just doesn't happen. And now we have 8 people coming, at least a minimum 8. And not to mention the fact that, you know, with the whole Gaza Strip thing.
Yeah.
There's a reason that other Arab nations didn't want to let refugees come into their nations out of the Gaza Strip.
They knew this could happen.
In their country.
Yeah.
So.
Sounds like they were being selfish, or they were being
cautious.
They were being cautious, knowing that the potential of how these people tend to operate.
Exactly.
How these people move.
So why are we letting it happen to us?
Yeah, good question.
Like, we just open the door and welcome him in. Or are we wanting another 9/11? Yeah. I mean, oh man,
it's a shame.
In March, where 145 people died and hundreds of others were wounded. So when DHS tells us that they were fully vetted, these 8 who just got arrested, again, we don't know what that means. How many dangerous nationals are living in the United States right now that we fully vetted? We need answers. Bill Hemmer.
So this was the number 3 years ago of gotaways from the border. 387,398. And if there are those in that group, I mean, they're in our communities now.
Wow.
2023, 670,674. The year before, 606,131. But the truth is, we don't know who's here. And you mentioned that attack this past spring in Moscow. That was low-tech terror.
Mm. Oh, that's interesting.
All they did was case the joint. They waited for the concert to begin, and they were using semi-automatic weapons.
Pause.
And so if you're plotting and you're planning...
Let's not forget, a friend of mine and I just watched a series on Netflix. It was a 3-part miniseries on Netflix.
What's it called?
About the Boston Marathon bombing.
Oh, yeah. That was just one guy, wasn't it?
No, it was 2.
It was 2? Oh.
Yeah, there was 2 of them.
Fairly young, too.
And they turned around, and all they did was just use a couple of backpacks and some pressure cookers. That's all it was.
Look at the damage.
And look at the damage it wrought.
And some people are being hysterical about guns. Like, Take
You
away
know,
all the weapon. It's like, yo, man, these guys can create a bomb. They can go to Walmart and create a bomb, yo. That
they
could do
had
so much more
nail.
damage.
It had nails, ball bearings, a
Yeah,
pressure cooker, and a few small chemicals. Set down a backpack and walked away during a Boston Marathon.
that's all you need.
And it's like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And now we have at least found 8 similar to them that believe the same things as them.
Mercy.
How many more are there that we don't know about? And we know that most of the people coming over the border are military age men.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And the thing is, we don't have a good relationship with. Well, Biden doesn't have a good relationship with the people of these nations, so you
yeah.
can't even send them back. So you're stuck with them.
And a lot of them are Asian,
Mm-hmm.
Chinese, you know. So, I mean, and you
Mm-hmm.
turn around and you look at the Dr. Phil interview with Trump, and if you watch the full interview,
I did.
it shows that China has bought up a bunch of farmland
Mm-hmm.
around most of our
Military.
defense systems.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Where do you think all these illegal Chinese immigrants are going?
Very close to these areas. Yo,
You gotta start. People's gotta start putting two together.
no, what's crazy? We will not realize the negativity of the Biden administration and some of the decisions that he's made by opening the border. It may not realize it till years later. I think Biden might even be in the grave by then, and that's when we're gonna reap the consequences. Stuff like this. The thing is, it doesn't happen quickly, right? So we might go another 5-6 years, everything is okay, and then boom, right? Just like 9/11, they were talking about it since the 1990 something, and then 2000, and then it happened when it happened in 2001. It was like, really? But we've been warned about this since like in the 1900s. So, unfortunately, that's kind of what's happening here. So there's like, they have to come here and be part of the system, get money, start doing this, and start saving, and then eventually, when they want to do something, they will do it. It might take a couple years. And that's when we're going to look back and say, yeah, that was when Biden opened the border and everything.
But this is why
It's
it's
crazy.
even more important now than ever to get Trump
Have
in
it clean.
office, so he
Get
finds
Trump-
all these guys and get them out of here.
Get them out of here. Yeah, you got to clean up house ASAP. Like, it's at a point now, he's like, no, we're not playing this game. You got to go.
We're at situation critical right now
Yeah. It's bad. It's not safe.
because there's like probably millions, if not more.
Yeah. I'm not in a place where I sympathize anymore. I used to be very sympathetic, but I realized, listen, man, just like your house, man, if you know people are coming in with the wrong intent, you just lock your door, period, right? You lock your door for good and bad people. That's just what you do. It's just one of those measures you take to say we can close our border because we're trying to help so and so. Like, you don't know who you're helping, though. You don't know who you're opening up the doors to. And I do understand there are decent people coming in who have no evil intent. But all it takes is one bad apple among the many, and that's it.
Yeah, just
And
one
we have
bad
to-
actor
Yeah, one bad actor.
can
And we have to
cause so much destruction.
and then we have to sit back and feel sorry for ourselves. So I'm like, yo, mass deportation, I support that 100%. I don't know what that's going to look like. I think it's going to look really bad, and I think the media is going to make a whole lot of noise about it. But they're going to say, look at what Trump is doing, and I can see, AOC coming in cry again, even though there's nobody crying now when these people are losing their lives and the cartels are abusing them. And they're being sold in different places. Over 8,000 children in that interview that with Dr. Phil, 8,000 children are being trafficked. They're being sold into the labor force. Some of them are being trafficked sexually as well. You don't hear nobody from the left coming crying. They don't have a hard time. There's no tears at the border. But I think if Trump says, "Okay, it's time for you guys to go," I can only imagine the media
Then
is gonna make a
turn
whole
on the
bunch of-
waterworks.
Yeah, they're gonna make a whole bunch of noise, and they're gonna sue him, and I can see what's gonna happen. But I tell you what, he's got my support though. He's got our vote, and I heard over 60% of Americans all for it for the deportation. So
You see the upper right corner?
yeah. Say it again.
Nothing. Something
All
popped
right,
up on the
let's keep going.
Planning your thinking, and I've thought this for several years now. If you're a member of ISIS and you're in eastern Syria or western Iraq, and Trump runs you out of that place, and then you get a change of administration here, and you know that the border's wide open. I mean, why would you not go ahead and test the system? I think there's a reason why you've got all these members of the administration flashing red lights right now. Mike Morrell, you can read his piece today. Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray, when he was on Capitol Hill 8 days ago, they're all saying the same thing. They're seeing warning signs out there they haven't seen in some time.
Let's listen to FBI Director Christopher Wray with this warning during a congressional testimony just last week.
We've seen the threat from foreign terrorists rise to a whole nother level. This is by no means a time to let up or dial back. Now, on top of that, increasingly concerning is the potential for a coordinated attack here in the homeland, not unlike the ISIS-K attack we saw at the Russia concert hall back in March.
So as Bill was just talking about, and basically I'll boil it down to this, how do we not know?
How do we not know? I mean, you list off administration officials who are warning, the head of CENTCOM, too. I mean, we're hearing this repeatedly. And, 9/11 is far in the back of our mind. No longer do I think about these attacks when I go to big events until recently. I was going to a concert, and multiple times it crossed my mind, oh, my goodness, what happened in Moscow? And for the CIA director, for FBI director, rather, to bring up that specific example and warn of threats, it's terrifying. It's in the back of everyone's mind. But Foreign Affairs, they wrote an article before these Tajikistan individuals were caught, these foreign nationals. The terrorism warning lights are blinking red again. And they analogize this to 9/11. They analogize it to George Tenet, who used to head up the CIA. George Tenet, in his confirmation hearings in 1997, warned specifically about al-Qaeda. Think about that, 1997, long before 2001. He warned about al-Qaeda 10 times over the years before 9/11 happened. So we need to take this seriously. We need to be on high alert. We need to secure the border.
You and I were on the same page because I read that Foreign Affairs article too, or their essay as it was. And in there it says the U.S. Central Command, General Kurilla, has pointed to the terrorist capabilities of groups like al-Qaeda, ISIS, in its Afghanistan affiliate, ISIS-K. He says, despite the threats, though, the southern border remains virtually defenseless. When I got to that line, I scratched my head.
Well,
what was Biden even trying to do last week? Because he didn't touch this. He's not protecting us.
And to Kayleigh's point, you think about these big events you go to. These guys were talking about the Boston Marathon. They are planning something like that. That's why we're getting these warnings from Christopher Wray. But if you read deeply into that, what that article is saying about this is that Joe Biden doesn't have the ability to return these people. He doesn't have the relationships with these countries to send them back. They won't accept them back. So when we've talked to Border Patrol, they've said, we've got some really bad guys coming in, these guys connected to ISIS. There's no way to return them. What do we do with them?
I don't know, Guantanamo Bay? I mean, what are our options at this point? They can't stay among us. Right. And if we know they're here, where do we put them? Former acting ICE director under Trump and Fox News contributor Tom Homan joined me last hour on The Focus. Here's what he told me.
In 2021, a little over 4,000 Russians were encountered on the southern border. 2023, 33,000. Since October, over 30,000 Chinese nationals. They have released people from Russia, from North Korea, from Syria, Turkey, Iran, and this happens by the thousands every month, and they keep releasing them. And as far as the vetting, they'll keep saying, well, we vet them before we release them. Look, the vetting is poor because we can only vet with the information that is available to us. But you think Russia, Syria, Turkey, Iran is sharing any national security information with us on people from their countries? No, they're not. It won't be the last. Unless they take actions to secure the border, something is coming.
Emily.
Right, so President Biden's continued fear of escalation and weak, defenseless approach to global relationships has resulted in not only the erosion of relationships with our allies, but also the elevation of our weakness as perceived by our enemies. So number one, we don't have that intel, which is why when the government, perpetuated by the mainstream media, these people were fully vetted. I really appreciated the director's point, which is that fully vetted on a slim iota piece of information, not the whole picture. When anything happens in our lives, take your own home, your own car. You mitigate the risk. Oh man, the brakes are sounding an alarm. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to make sure the brakes are sound. Why in this administration, against the growing calls, the red flags that have been sounded by the FBI director, the attorney general just last week, an enormous surge in threats, the CENTCOM director, global, the capabilities that they have, the outgoing National Counterterrorism Center director who said there's an elevated global threat environment, ISIS-K explosion in Moscow, the list goes on. Why would the president ignore that? Just like he ignored all of the advice before the pullout of Afghanistan, we can mitigate the risk right now by closing the southern border and the northern one, since everyone's coming over that too. Because we clearly can't mitigate the risk right now because this president has eroded all of those relationships and our capabilities, but we need to mitigate the risk, and he's ignoring them.
A quick follow-up for you, Emily. So does he even know all those things that why he doesn't take action? I don't know. I don't know if they're telling him everything. I don't have the confidence anymore. Our lives are at stake now as a country. I don't know.
Even if his closest advisors have somehow tried to shield or protect his mentality from this and try to whitewash, we know they have with the southern border and things.
Right.
The fact that these public statements by these officials that we've cited today, those are clear. Those warnings are clear.
And they're public.
Anyone would have to just open your eyes and listen to know that the threat is real and the risk is high.
Think about how this started too, Harris. This started with Mexicans, Nicaraguans, Hondurans, right?
The normal border crossers that we've seen historically.
And the president would never push back on that because that would upset the progressive left. It would truly offend them. And it's gotten to this point where we can list off all these countries and Bill Malusian's down there with a group of people from Mauritania day after day after day.
Yeah. No, and what you're saying, too, and Haitians are among those, too. So certain, and I'll just say it, people of color, he's losing the black vote. So he's not going to push against black and Hispanics in a political year. But vetting should be irrespective of what you look like. Where you come from matters if you're on a list of countries that have terrorist activities going on.
Hey, everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me.
But when Trump did it, that was considered racist and, you know, xenophobic and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. We didn't like when Trump did this, but look at it now. We like, that's exactly what needs to be done. And Trump has been saying this. He's like, I'm a common sense type of guy. Common sense. And really being a president shouldn't be that difficult and complicated. Common sense. Like, close the door, man. Protect your family, man. Make people pay their share. And that's it, man. Just deregulate. Allow the people to create businesses. Stop taxing the poor. Overtaxing people. Like, Trump
Put back the Remain in Mexico policy.
Yeah, go back there. It's unfortunate now we are at a point where it's gonna take, it might take a serious attack before we realize the nature of this thing, you know, how bad of a thing it is.
Another Boston Marathon.
We're not far from that either. All right. This is the lawyer I was telling you about. This is a Yale lawyer. His name is Professor Jed Rubenfeld.
Thought we were going to do the Trump kids.
That's next.
Okay.
All right. So this guy here is based because he's addressing the situation with Trump. Also, because Trump kids are next and the last. All right. Let's take a listen to this guy because he's so based.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Straight Down the Middle. Here's something I've heard so many times about the Trump verdict. People have said to me, people against the conviction, they say to me, look, Professor, come on. This was obviously a politically motivated prosecution. Bragg said he was going to go after Trump when he was running for office, and he did. Isn't that enough to make it unconstitutional? Well, I want to do an episode on that because it's a very good question. I want to try to walk you through that and give you the arguments on both sides, so let's jump right in. First of all, it's true. District Attorney Bragg, running for office, said over and over that he was going to go after Trump. He said, I'm the best candidate to go after him. He used those terms, go after him. He repeatedly denounced President Trump's policies. He one time said that Trump had embraced white nationalism, and he made it clear that he thought that a Trump presidency would be a danger to the nation. Is that enough to make it unconstitutional? Well, how about this? We add to this that here's something else we know, that once Bragg got into office, we know that he looked for crimes that he could prosecute Trump for. He had his office consider several different crimes. He finally settled on this business records falsification crime, and he went after him, and he got him. Is that enough to make it unconstitutional? Well, it's troubling for sure. Have you ever heard the phrase, show me the man and I'll find you the crime? Well, that was a saying popular in Soviet Russia under Stalin. Supposedly, it's what Stalin's notorious chief of the Secret Service, secret police, said to him. And we do not want that to be the principle of the American criminal justice system. But is it enough to make the prosecution unconstitutional? There's a counter-argument. We could call it the Al Capone argument. Let me tell you what it is. Imagine 100 years ago, some district attorney running for office says, I'm the best candidate to go after Al Capone. My rival candidates, they're afraid they won't do it, or they're in his pocket. Vote for me and I'll go after Al Capone. And then let's say he gets elected to be district attorney. He starts looking for different crimes to prosecute Al Capone, and he finds a tax crime, didn't pay his taxes, and he prosecutes him and he gets him for a tax law violation. Well, most people think there would be nothing unconstitutional about that. So maybe it's not enough for a prosecutor to say he's going to go after somebody and then go after him. Maybe that's not enough to make a prosecution unconstitutional. But of course, there's a difference. In the Al Capone case, the prosecutor's not going after Al Capone for his political activity or his political viewpoints. And of course, that's what a lot of people think Bragg was doing, going after Trump specifically to derail his candidacy because of opposition to his politics. And if that's what he was doing, well, that is unconstitutional. That's called selective prosecution. You cannot prosecute somebody because you don't like their politics out of hostility to or in retaliation for their political activity. That's just straight up unconstitutional. The problem is it's difficult to prove. Courts have made that kind of claim especially difficult to prove. So many of us might feel on both sides, Democrats, Republicans, conservative liberals might feel, hey, that's what it feels like Bragg was doing, but the courts have made that kind of claim very hard to prove. Many courts have said there's got to be a comparator. What's a comparator? Well, let me explain what a comparator is. There's got to be a case that's similar. Somebody committed a similar offense, but was of a different political viewpoint or from a different political party, and the state didn't prosecute them. If you've got a comparator like that, then maybe you can make a claim of selective prosecution. Okay, let me give you an example of a comparator like that. This comes out of a case from the District of Columbia not long ago. It's the summer of 2020. A small group of pro-life protesters stage a protest.
Pause.
And as part of their protest,
Bill Clinton.
Well, that's one comparator, but he's going to compare Hillary Clinton. But the comparison is amazing what he's about to do.
Well, my first thing that came to mind was Bill Clinton and
Yeah, of course, with what he did with the
with
intern.
what he did.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And pay her
that's almost a
$850,000.
mirror image.
Yeah,
you
and pay
know.
her $850,000, and that's a lot more money than
Yeah.
$100 and something thousand dollars.
So I mean, I'm just saying.
But what they're trying to do, they're trying to apply motive to Trump's. Unlike Bill Clinton, they're saying he did this for election reasons, right? To kind of shield his reputation that he was up to no good, right? Whatever. But how do they know that?
Did the
That means
same
they have to
thing,
read the
and
part.
he even lied about it.
And that's good point. Well, it's pretty crazy. Again, it's Donald
Yeah,
Trump.
granted, he got impeached, but
Yeah.
he didn't get prosecuted outside of that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's as far as it went, was in an impeachment. He
That's
didn't get prosecuted outside of being president.
Not even close. It's a huge difference going on here. Anyway.
they chalk up a bunch of sidewalks, city sidewalks, with their message, preborn lives matter, or something like that. Preborn lives matter. They put it in chalk on a sidewalk and they get arrested. What did they get arrested for? Defacing public property. They're arrested under the District of Columbia's defacement ordinance. And guess what? Under that ordinance, they are probably guilty of defacing public property. But the defendants, they said, hang on a second, just down the street, this is summer of 2020, remember, they said down the street and throughout the city, there are much bigger protests going on, and people are chalking up sidewalks and chalking up streets and buildings with the message Black Lives Matter. It's happening all over the city, and nobody ever prosecuted them. Not one single prosecution for defacement of public property, but you're coming after us, and you're charging us with defacement of public property? And the District of Columbia Circuit, in a decision from just last year, they said, now that's a comparator. With that allegation, if you can prove that, you've just stated a good selective prosecution claim. Now, of course, that's really hard to find.
Exactly. So now I love the application is about to make.
A case, same time, roughly similar kind of crime, roughly similar facts, but from a different political party, different political views. You're almost never going to find that, right? Well, amazingly, there might be a comparator like that in this Trump case. I couldn't believe it when I first read about it, but let me explain it to you. It involves Hillary Clinton. You got to remember the core of the case against Trump. What's the core of the case? Prosecution says Trump falsified business records. How? Well, he took some campaign finance expenses. That's $130,000 in hush money paid to Stormy Daniels. The state says those were campaign expenses, but the Trump organization called them legal expenses. And that was false. That's what the prosecution says.
Pause. I want to make a prediction here. See if I can make a prediction.
Go ahead.
Is this about the Steele dossier? She used campaign finances to pay for the Steele dossier that would get Trump impeached.
Exactly. Yeah, you made a good prediction, I'm sure.
Legal expenses. And that was false. That's what the prosecution says. That was false. They were campaign expenses, not legal expenses. And because they were campaign expenses, but not reported as such, that's a campaign finance violation. So that was the heart and remained the heart throughout the case of the prosecution's case against Trump. Now, here's what's so amazing. In 2022, just a couple years ago, the Federal Election Commission determined that the Hillary Clinton campaign had committed a campaign finance violation. What was it? They found that in 2016, the very same year that these events concerning Trump took place, that the Clinton campaign had paid money to fund the Steele dossier. Do you remember the Steele dossier? It was a report containing very scandalous and supposedly incriminating allegations against then candidate Trump. Well, we didn't know it at the time, but it turns out that the Steele dossier had been funded by the Clinton campaign. And when it was discovered that the Clinton campaign had funded the Steele dossier, the Federal Election Commission started looking, well, how did you report those payments? And it turned out that the Clinton campaign had reported them as legal expenses. That's right, as legal expenses. And the FEC said, those weren't legal expenses. Those were campaign finance expenses. And that violates campaign finance law. You can't call campaign expenses legal expenses without reporting them. Well, that's a surprisingly similar set of facts. But here's the thing. They were never prosecuted by the New York district attorneys. And of course, the Clinton campaign was located, headquartered in New York City. So they could have been. And these facts had all come out by 2022. According to public records, there was never a single prosecution, not of Hillary Clinton, not of anybody associated with her campaign, for falsifying business records to cover up a campaign finance violation, notwithstanding the fact that you got, on the surface of it at least, very similar facts. Now, I don't know all the facts of the Clinton campaign finance violation. I only know what's in the FEC public record. But if we accept that public record for what it is, it sure looks like a very similar case. The Clinton campaign called campaign expenses legal expenses to cover up a campaign finance violation, but was never prosecuted for that by the district attorney in Manhattan. If that's true, well, that might be the kind of comparator that courts demand. That might show selective prosecution. A lot of you have asked me the following question. What's up with the issue of jury unanimity in the Trump hush money conviction? Now, this is a thorny one. I'm going to warn you in advance. This is for people who like to get into the legal weeds, because this issue of jury unanimity is a tough one. Tough one to understand, tough one to get through. But I'm going to walk you through it, and I promise you, I will give you the arguments on both sides, and I hope that once I've done that, you'll understand this issue better. So let's dive right in. Okay, so under the United States Constitution, in every criminal prosecution, the jury has to be unanimous. Now, you might be surprised to hear this, but until just a few years ago, that right, even though it's in the Bill of Rights, only applied in federal prosecutions, not state prosecutions. But as it happens, just a few years ago, the Supreme Court of the United States said, you know what? We've been wrong for 100 years. That right applies in state prosecutions just as much as in federal prosecutions, at least in state felony prosecutions. And of course, that's what the prosecution of former President Trump was, a felony prosecution. So, jury unanimity requirement did apply. And here's what the state's going to say. Where's the problem? The jury was told they had to find unanimously that Trump falsified business records and that he did so to conceal a violation of New York election law. Okay, so what's the problem? There was jury unanimity. They were so instructed. They so found. Where's the problem? Well, the Trump team's going to say, hang on, there's still a big problem. Because that New York election law violation, what did that New York election statute say? It said that it's illegal for two or more people to agree to work in concert to influence an election through unlawful means, that is, by violating some other statute. And Judge Mershon instructed the jury they did not have to be unanimous with respect to those unlawful means. Judge Mershon threw a bunch of theories of what those other statutory violations might be at the jury. He threw three different theories at the jury. At a minimum, he said it could be a tax law violation, could be a campaign finance violation, could be a violation of New York's business records falsification statute, the same statute that Trump was prosecuted under, which introduces a whole other element like a circularity. But put that aside, he said to the jury, you may consider any of those possible theories of a statutory violation. And he didn't say that you can only consider those. He said you may consider those and you don't have to be unanimous. So the Trump team says that's a non-unanimous jury verdict and that's unconstitutional. Now, the state's going to come back and say, no, that's not unconstitutional. Everybody knows that the means by which a defendant commits a crime, how he commits a crime, the jury doesn't have to be unanimous about that. And the state's got some case law on its side because the Supreme Court, in a series of decisions, has held that when it comes to what the court calls the brute facts underlying a crime, the jury doesn't have to be unanimous. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. Let's say defendant's charged with murder. There was an altercation, bunch of people. Defendant is said to have murdered the victim. But 6 of the juries, they think, yeah, we're convinced the defendant murdered the victim, but we think he did it by shooting him. And the other 6 say, no, we don't think he did it by shooting him, but we're convinced that he murdered the victim with a knife. Well, guess what? Under Supreme Court precedent, that's constitutional. 6 could think he did it by gunshot. 6 could think he did it by a knife. No problem. And so the state's going to say, well, this is just the same. It's just like that. The underlying facts, the jury doesn't have to be unanimous about. But the Trump team will come back and say, well, hang on. That's not how it works. The Supreme Court has also told us this, that if the jury is presented with different crimes, not just different underlying facts, but different kinds of crimes. So the jury is told both that the defendant murdered the victim and that the defendant robbed the victim. And 6 jurors think, yeah, we believe he murdered the victim. We don't think he robbed him. And 6 believe, no, we think he robbed him, but we don't think he murdered him. That's not a unanimous jury verdict. You cannot convict on the basis of 6 thinking murder and 6 thinking robbery. Those are 2 different crimes. And if it's 2 different crimes, that's not unanimous. So this Trump people are going to say these different theories of the unlawful means by which they were supposedly trying to influence the election, those are different crimes. You got a tax crime, you got a campaign finance violation, and you've got a business records falsification crime. Those are different crimes. So the judge was inviting non-unanimity with respect to different crimes, therefore unconstitutional. That's what the Trump people will say. But wait, the state has a counter-argument. The state's going to say, not so fast. This was a conspiracy crime. The New York statute, remember, says 2 people or more can't agree to try to influence an election through some illegal conduct. And the state's going to say conspiracy laws are different. They function totally differently. And when it comes to conspiracy laws, you do not have to show unanimity. But the Trump team's going to come back and say, well, actually, you're right, in part, conspiracy laws are different in many ways, but they're not with respect to unanimity. And the Trump team's going to have some cases it can point to, and let me tell you what those cases are. I told you we'd be getting into the legal weeds here, but if you're interested, here's how it works. There's a federal statute. It's called the RICO statute. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. It's the federal racketeering statute. And under the federal RICO statute, one of the crimes you can be charged with is conspiracy. Conspiracy to run an enterprise, a business or something, run an enterprise through a pattern of unlawful acts, through unlawful means. Kind of like the New York election statute, influence an election through unlawful means, RICO, running an enterprise through unlawful means. Well, when it comes to charging conspiracy under RICO, the government has often tried to say, hey, we don't have to convince a unanimous jury of the unlawful acts that the defendants were conspiring to commit. The jury doesn't have to be unanimous. They can, 4 of them can think one crime, 4 of them can think another. It's fine. But the federal courts have said that's not fine. The jury can disagree about the underlying facts, what the Supreme Court calls brute facts. But if the prosecutors are alleging different crimes, so the prosecutors put before the jury the idea or evidence suggesting that defendants conspired to run the enterprise through acts of murder or acts of embezzlement or acts of robbery. Federal courts say, no, 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 you cannot have non-unanimity there. The jury has to agree unanimously on the kind of crime that was involved. But here in the Trump prosecution, Judge Mershon specifically instructed the jury in this conspiracy offense that the prosecution could throw before the jury different crimes that the conspiracy was directed toward. The tax crime, the campaign finance offense, or possibly violations of New York's business records falsification statute. And the jury did not have to be unanimous when it came to these different kinds of crimes. So Trump lawyers are going to point to these federal RICO cases and other cases going to say, no, 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 that was unconstitutional. That violated the requirement of a unanimous verdict. Okay, we kind of got into the weeds here, but those are going to be the arguments. They're going to be made on appeal. I hope that this has at least clarified it for you. I will have more episodes answering other questions.
Man, I don't know how the jury even came to a verdict with all those instructions.
Yeah,
Like,
3
I
different
could
positions.
see why the jury would be confused.
Of course. Of course. I mean, in a sense, you could say they're afraid of being blackmailed. They kind of had to go with this.
I'm not even blackmailed, just hoodwinked.
Yeah. You think so? I think they knew very well this was wrong.
I mean, granted, they knew it was wrong, but it's just they were misled.
But yeah, I'm not going to
as far as what the statutes were and things like that.
They were. Yeah, I can't condemn the jury for any of it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, and again, check out this lawyer because he has another video. I'm going to react to that video a little bit later. It's 24 minutes long, but I'm going to kind of like let it play out. But we're not doing that today. I thought this was fair. The way he assessed it he's very balanced with the thing, with the law. And again, he's not a Trump supporter. This guy is just a Yale professor. And I'm kind of shocked coming from Yale, who's somewhat left-leaning, for him speaking like this. I hope he still has a job after this video.
I mean, he did a really good job of explaining everything.
Yeah, without being too political, partisan, shall I say. Anyway, that was great. That was great. Here is your guy. This is the guy you wanted to do. Oh, boy.
Yeah,
all right, we're gonna
listen to the clown show.
Yeah, let's listen to him, and then we're gonna bring in the Trump's family to share about what happened on that day with this verdict.
Under Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth. I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave. Under Trump, this kind of government will.
Is he for real? This guy
perish from the earth.
He's crazy. He's out of his mind crazy.
Like, dude, I think he's lost the plot.
Yeah, a long time ago. Remember this video from the celebrities that about Trump? This was old. You remember that? Yeah, that was crazy. We're gonna play Trump's case, but I wanted to bring this to the channel.
You have an obligation
to be a part of that decision.
You might think it's not important. You might think you're not important,
but that's not true. And the only way we can prove that to you is by having lots of famous people.
Lots of famous people.
Lots and lots of famous people.
Just a shit ton of famous people.
But you only get this many famous people together if the issue's
one that truly matters to all of us.
A disease or
ecological crisis or
a racist, abusive coward who could permanently damage the fabric of our society.
Do the math.
Do we really want to give nuclear weapons to a man whose signature move is firing?
Firing things? But we can end this nightmare before it begins.
We can save the day.
For our children.
For our children.
For our children.
For our communities.
For our communities.
For our communities.
For America.
For America. For America.
All it takes is all of us.
All of us.
All of us.
We cannot pretend both sides are equally unfavorable.
We can't say one vote doesn't matter.
Your vote matters.
Your vote matters. It affects everything.
Not just the presidency, but the Senate,
The House.
your local officials.
Immigration. Student debt.
Common sense gun laws.
The Supreme Court. See, this isn't just an election, it's a tipping point.
For the country.
For the world.
For your world.
Oh, goodness. That's not what I'm looking for. There we go. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. These people out of their minds crazy. And again, remember, this was years ago, so I'm not sure how much of this they still believe, so. Anyway, celebrities want to share their opinion about what you should be doing with your vote. I'm like, yeah, you're the last person to be talking.
It's like, shut up and dance, monkey.
After watching this trial, do you trust the
Well,
jury to
guys,
make the right decision?
this is amazing. I think Todd Blanche summed it up best. If there was an MVP, if there was a GOAT of liars, it is Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is the embodiment of reasonable doubt. And this entire case hinges on someone who has quite literally lied to every single person and body he's ever been in front of. He's lied before, I believe it's every branch of Congress. He's lied before his wife. He's lied to bankers. He's lied to all of you in the press. And he's actually lied to that very jury. And yet, he's the only person of relevance that this entire case hinges on. We understand that this is a political persecution. That was evidenced today by the Biden campaign themselves holding a rally here. They bring in Robert De Niro, who was shot down, but apparently he needs attention because it's been a while since he's cranked out a good movie. But think about it. They bring out one actor. Remember in 2020 when every A-list actor in the world showed up for Joe Biden, they lined up one by one? Now they get one person. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson disavowed, said, hey, listen, I regret voting for him. Cardi B, all the people that lined up behind Joe Biden understand that he has failed our country, he has failed the citizens of this nation, frankly, he has failed the world. But the fact that they're holding a rally across the seat from this very witch hunt, right across the street, tells us exactly what we all knew all along, that it is a political persecution. It is a witch hunt. There is a reason one of the people sitting at that desk was the number 3 person in Joe Biden's DOJ. I know my father is not allowed to say Matthew Colangelo in his name, right? Because he's been gagged. The President of the United States is not allowed to exercise his First Amendment rights in New York City in this day and age. Does that not tell us all everything we need to know about what we're witnessing?
Yeah. So here's something most people may not know about what happened during the trial. The number 3 person in the DOJ, okay, highly ranked in the DOJ, took a pay cut to come help prosecute this case on a local level. Tell me that it's not political with telling me it's not political.
But I heard he was like so close to being, is it supervisor? Really? But he literally went down just to get Trump. Yeah. That's one of the ones that Matt Gaetz was addressing. I'm not sure. Yeah.
So tell me it's not political without telling me it's. Tell me it's political without telling me it's political.
Yeah.
When the number 3 DOJ guy, who's about to get promoted, takes a demotion and a pay cut to come to New York just to prosecute Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You can't make it any more obvious.
Oh yeah, it's very obvious. It's very obvious. But again, they won't even consider it. They don't care about the facts.
I mean, after this, we got to see the Matt Gaetz video.
Oh yeah, we definitely
it's
have to
brutal.
end with it. We definitely end with it. Yeah, let's let this one run.
It's a witch hunt they're using as a political fundraiser, just like this very judge's daughter has profited from this very case. It is an insanity. It is an embarrassment. It's an abomination to democracy and to our republic. And yet it continues. Everyone in this case is conflicted, and it hinges on one man who's not just a liar, convicted, someone who's lost his law license, has been disbarred, someone who's served jail time for lying before congressional bodies. And that's it. That's where we are today in America. This is a sham. It's insane, and it needs to stop, because if you think for 1 second that this ends with Donald Trump, you have not been watching what's going on in the Democrat Party in the last few years. They want power at any and all costs. Your rights be damned. That can't stand. That can't happen. This sham prosecution, this insanity, this abomination has to stop now.
After watching this trial, are you convinced that the jurors are going to be able to make the right decision?
So I sit here today as a son. Forget about politics for a second. I've been in that courthouse with my father almost every single day, and not a single New Yorker, as they look at murders in the streets, women getting thrown in front of trains, kids getting shot in Times Square, the degradation of this city. Not a single New Yorker believes that over $130,000 payment from 9 years ago, from 8 years ago, that the entire DA's office is lining that courtroom. They're sitting there, they're laughing, they're giggling. This was their moment. This is how they embarrassed Donald Trump. This is legal lawfare, all while this state absolutely melts. Everybody that sits here right now, every single one of you, knows that this is not the same state that we knew 10 years ago. Now, knew it was not the same state as we saw 5 years ago. You have total degradation of New York State, because the only thing that Alvin Bragg wants to do, only thing that Letitia James wants to do, is criminally prosecute Donald Trump. And they're doing it for one reason. They're doing it because they have a political vendetta. They're all funded by George Soros. That's what this is. This is political lawfare, and it absolutely has to stop. And I watch a man, he's the toughest man I've ever seen, and he endures this nonsense every single day. He sits in that seat, and that's not comfortable. He's never done a damn thing wrong. They tried to impeach him in D.C. They tried to impeach him a second time. They went after his Supreme Court justices. They turned the DOJ, they turned the FBI against him. They couldn't stop him. When that didn't work, guess what they did? They went after his family. They went after me. 110 subpoenas later that I've received. I've never gotten so much as a parking ticket. 110 subpoenas. They went after Don. They went after Laura. They went after little Barron Trump as a young kid, as a young teenager. They went after Tiffany Trump. They tried to make his life hell. And then they weaponized every single DA. They weaponized every AG in every far left area, because Biden is incompetent and he's losing in all the polls. Across the board, he's losing in every quantifiable metric. Our country is going to hell. And this is their answer. Go after him for $130,000. And I want to say sorry to the jury that's in there. This has been the greatest colossal waste of time. I want to say thank you to the NYPD. You have thousands of officers down here. Thousands of officers down here that could be protecting our streets. Instead, they're guarding this courthouse against a sham trial. This has cost New York millions and millions and millions of dollars. And New York deserves so much better than this. And I cannot wait for the day that we win. We will. We're right. The entire country knows that this is nonsense. They don't buy it. A poll just came out from the New York Times. Even Democrats, the vast majority of Democrats, know that this case is a sham. And I think we're going to prevail. And I'm just proud of the toughest person I've ever met in my entire life for having the backbone and fortitude to go through this whole mess, as uncomfortable as it's been. And I'm proud to have stood there every single second by his side in that freezing cold courtroom against unthinkable odds and a corrupt judge and people making a lot of money and this political witch hunt. He's an inspiration to me every single day, and he'll be vindicated. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't know what else to say that hasn't been said, but I think it's pretty obvious after all of the evidence has been presented now. We can very clearly see, if you didn't already know, that this was never a case about seeking justice. This was never a case about prosecuting an actual crime. This was never a case about protecting the citizens of the city of New York, this is a case about politics, pure and simple. And it is such a shame, as someone who used to live in this city, to see the top law enforcement officer in the city of New York, Alvin Bragg, sitting up in that courtroom, knowing all the resources he pulled together, all the time, all the taxpayer money in this city that was spent to go into this case when, as Eric just noted, you have crime sky high, people being pushed in front of subways, women getting punched in the face in broad daylight in this city, anti-Semitism spewing out of our universities right here in New York City. They're not caring about any of those crimes. They're not pursuing any of those crimes. They care about this, which we know is not a crime. They have not proven anything to be a crime whatsoever, and they will not. Because at the end of this, we all know what it is about. And to the jury, when they realize these people who have wasted 5 weeks of their time in there, that they have been part of a political game, as New Yorkers, I'm pretty sure they're going to be upset about it. This is not the United States of America if this is successful. This is Banana Republic type stuff. And if they can profit off it on the other side, so can we. DonaldJTrump.com. If you want to contribute to help Donald Trump become the 47th president of the United States. They cannot succeed. They will not succeed. We will continue to fight alongside my father-in-law, our 45th and I believe 47th president, for what we know is true and right. Thank you.
After watching
Facts.
Mm-hmm. Tell me where they said anything wrong.
Yeah, they've criminalized Trump so much now. His fan base has gotten stronger. But I'm so glad I watched this video because I was concerned about the state of his family. Like, what are they feeling? What are they thinking? Because sometimes they did say, Trump, like, why are you doing this? Because we feeling this thing, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But the family support is very strong. I wonder how the wife feels. I don't think she has spoken so much, but
they're fired up.
Yeah. I mean, after going through all of this, sorry, I think I gotta change my camera. After going through all of this, I think it will be weak for Trump to not finish the race.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because
he's gone this far. He's got to finish. And if he doesn't finish a race, I think he just let down not just everybody who supports him, but I think it'd be a disappointment to his family as well. Like everything they're putting their faith in him and everything, and they're backing him 110%. I think that if he didn't see this through, then their faith they'd feel that their faith would be misplaced. And it goes back to that old meme. It's not me they're after you. I'm just in the way. And that's really what it boils down to. So, I mean,
so hard to the point now where he is gonna win as a result of the persecution.
Yeah.
They try so hard to stop Trump. Now Trump is gonna become the next president again.
He's like a juggernaut.
Yeah. Oh man, it's seriously going to backfire. Just loving it because I'm enjoying the show. I'm like, yeah, thanks for doing that because look what you done did. Now you made him president again.
You're making him unstoppable.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy what they done do. Anyway, works for Trump. So we had the Matt Gaetz video. Let me pull that up. Oh, there it is. It should be in there. Yeah. All right, we're gonna end with this one. We've been hanging out for a while.
Boston field office in which you.
All right, let's pull this up. Here we go.
Explains that conspiracies about the FBI causing the Capitol insurrection are false and concerning.
Without objection.
And finally, I ask unanimous consent to enter an excerpt from FBI Director Wray's testimony before this committee last July, where he states, quote, I will say this notion that somehow the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources and agents is ludicrous and it's a disservice to our brave, hardworking, dedicated men and women.
Objection.
Close quote.
Without objection. The gentleman from the floor is recognized for 5 minutes.
Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. I get that.
State.
The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
You make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now, you were a judge, once nominated the highest court in our country. When you were a judge, I'm just curious, did you ever make political donations to partisan candidates?
No.
No, and you didn't because that would create the potential appearance of impropriety.
I didn't because there's a federal rule barring federal judges from making contributions.
Right, but under that same theory of attacks on the judicial process, like, shouldn't someone be owed like a jury of their peers and a judge that's non-biased rather than getting a judge from your political opponent's donor file?
I'm well aware that you're not asking a hypothetical. You're asking me to comment on a jury verdict in another jurisdiction.
Look at him ducking. Look at him
you
ducking.
see the trap he's laying out for him, right?
You doing backflips. But he's not doing that. It's still hypothetical. He hasn't mentioned any person's name. Even though he's asking things that has to do with the law. So I don't know how he's jumping into that because he definitely knows where Mike
because
is coming
Merrick
from.
Garland's about to hang himself. he's just gonna do it for him.
Yeah, I know that you're not talking about hypothetical. He's like, look at you doing backflips. You already know you're in trouble.
He's like, whatever. I'm just gonna do your job for you.
Yeah.
In another jurisdiction which has to be respected. I won't comment on it. That case is still ongoing. The defendant
Mr. Attorney General, I hadn't asked you about the verdict yet. We were getting there. I was talking about the judge. And so let me ask you this question about your time as a judge. Was there ever a time when you were a judge when you had a family member who was personally profiting off of the notoriety of a case that was before your court?
Look, I'm going to say again, it's very clear you're asking me to comment on a case in another jurisdiction.
No, wait, hold on, Mr. Attorney General. Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're connecting the dots, Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo,
false.
Matthew
False.
Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the DOJ.
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a
Like, really?
My guess is on fire right now. He said, "Do you know how he ended up there?" Like, he was working for you. If he left and ended up over there, I mean, it's only fair for you to know as a boss what
What
you doing over
happened?
there. How you
Yeah.
end up there? What you doing over there?
How'd he get there?
How did you get there? What he's gonna say? I'm sure he's gonna say he went to look for a job, huh? He went to look for a job.
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
Really? Why would he do that when he's at a much higher paying job in a higher position?
Yeah, why would you do something like that unless you had something else up your sleeve? There was a reason behind that. I mean, they really think we are stupid. Like, they really think the American people are dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't have to have all this knowledge about certain things for us to understand, like, some of you guys are lying. Like, you guys are obviously cooking and lying.
Yeah.
Can't even be honest with yourself. Like, do they really think we can't figure this stuff out? The dots are connecting.
Apparently they think we are. Because, I mean, they're trying to pull this over on us, and it's like, yo, I mean, come on. It's obvious. You're number 3 guy.
Yeah.
In a high-ranking position in the government, in the DOJ.
Yep.
Decides, you know what? I don't like this job anymore. I'm going to go back down here, all the way back to the bottom, and start over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Make
Why?
that make sense. Golly.
When you reach,
sorry, go ahead.
When you reach like the highest pinnacle of what you could possibly
In
reach
your career, and then
in
you
your
just
career, and or close to it, and you're like right there, so close you could touch it,
and then you decide.
Why would you decide to back away from it?
Because, brother, you gotta get Trump.
That's the only possible explanation.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think about. Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Or somebody told you to.
Yeah, simple as that. Anyway.
False. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I can tell you I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired, here, Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family's making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do.
Oh, I love me some Matt Gaetz. Yeah, I think there's a few guys that I will say, Chip Roy, Matt Gaetz, and there are a few more. They are doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is one guy I have a lot of respect for. You know, Mike Johnson had my hope in the beginning, but now it looks like he's completely going backward. But he's been consistent, though. He's been very consistent, and I appreciate that about him. Yeah. Wow.
Glad to see you, Corey. Even if you could only stop in for a moment.
That's all good. It's all good. All right, let's keep going.
You yourself wouldn't do. You know, no one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law. And I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service. I see my time's expired. I yield back.
Ranking members recognized for 5 minutes.
He is so done. He is toast.
And it's like,
he's toast.
The more you let him talk, the worse he gets.
The worse he gets.
He just digs deeper and deeper. So go ahead and let it continue.
You know, the thing is, if you had truth on your side from the start, none of this would have been possible. The truth was not on their side, obviously. And again, I'm not wishing evil on any man, but I'm just telling you, the corruption is deep. Like the video we watched of that guy,
Mm-hmm.
He says the more you walk with the Lord, the more he shows you how deep the corruption is. And it
Mm-hmm.
is heartbreaking, man. If you don't have a relationship with the Lord, you will lose your mind because it's like, yo, this stuff is really, really bad. I mean, it's so bad. But again, I think also Donald Trump himself has pushed them over the line.
Yeah.
Like, I knew there was corruption in there, but when Trump came in power, he really set the whole thing ablaze. Like, he literally started a fire. It shows that, yo, this guy really messed everything up for us in a
Mhm.
sense.
He threw a giant monkey wrench in the wheels.
Yeah, he
Obviously.
certainly has, and I think that's part of the reason why today they just trying to lock him up as soon as possible because they can't have this guy win. Because if he does win, what's about to happen again is that Trump is gonna come back and finish some spanking. Now we know it's not retaliation, it's not vengeance, but there's something called accountability, though. Like if Trump doesn't clean up this mess, his presidency in 2024 is not gonna go anywhere. That's why I was telling people, like, it's one thing to say we should not be doing tick for tack. And I'm not for that because God is a forgiving God.
Mm-hmm.
But when you in politics, we're not talking about human being one-on-one, me and you. That's we brethren. We forgive each other. That's different.
Right.
But when you're in politics, you're dealing with in-depth corruption. You can't do that. You can't actually, the country will not move on. Your policies are not gonna go anywhere as long as these people gets in the way. Like you have to clean up. You have
It's
to
like
clean
a
up.
festering sore. You have to
Yeah.
cut it out.
You have to cut it out, man. You have to fire some people. You have to hold some people accountable. I'm not calling for unaliving people. I'm not calling for locking some people up, but some people need to be locked up. Some people do. They deserve it. But there's no way you're gonna go anywhere. I think I've said this before. The Haitian president, when he died, I think 2019. Like what happened there, he was trying to be too nice to his enemies. That's what most people came to the understanding of. He had enemies that were threatening him, that wanted to lock him up, that wanted to have him killed. And he would like, let's work together. We are family, brethren. Let's not do this to each other. That was his attitude. He took a very Christian approach, which was nice. But in politics, you can't do that. Because what he should have done, take those threats seriously. These guys were calling in the streets, calling for his death. Like they were marching and calling, we need him dead, we need him gone, we need, and they were threatening his life. He got so threat and he ignored all of them. Instead of actually lock these people up and bring them into the judge and have them checked out. So what happened to him at the end? Well, those death threats became reality.
Yeah.
He was so littered with bullet. They could not recognize his body. He was okay. It was so bad. His face and everything, his whole body was splattered. This is what happened. And this death threats happened in his home. The security guards were behind the scene. They've allowed the criminals to come in. Like his own security guards let these people through. And they went into his bedroom while he was in bed, somebody littered him with bullets. His wife got shot. She didn't die because she went under the bed, but he was. So, and I'm not saying this is good. I'm just telling you, take warning. If you dealing with people, especially when it comes to politics, when it comes to church, it's different. When it comes to you and I family, I understand that's a different case. But in political circles, even when you look at the Bible, like look at the Bible, God is very firm about addressing evildoers. Like for example, when Samuel was sent to the king of Hagag, right? Well, it wasn't Samuel, it was Saul. Saul was supposed to go to king of Hagag and kill everything. This was a political move. It was actually a judgment. Some people think that's cruel because there were children involved. I'm telling you, this stuff is murky, it's dirty. All right. God had to clean up the whole thing. But Saul decided to save Hagag. What most people don't know, and again, if you don't do biblical history, you would not know. You would think God is being unfair. Listen, the king of Hagag was killing the children. And when Israel were coming out of Egypt, one of the things that he did is in Exodus. They don't tell you much. It's like two verses that mentioned it. But anyway, he and his army went after the handicaps, the elderlies, and the children in the back of the line because they were moving slow. He had them butchered. We're talking about over thousands of people lost their lives.
Picking off the weak.
Yeah, he picked off the weak. So when God brought judgment in Samuel's time, is because God knew the history of the wickedness of this man. As a matter of fact, if you study furthermore the story of Esther and Haman, Haman was mad because of what happened to Haggag, and that's why they treated Esther and the Jews in the way that they did in that story. So it's good to understand that. That's where the animosity of Naaman came from. That's why they wanted to persecute the Jews and Mordecai and everything else. So when you study the pattern of the historical things that had to be done, and eventually, since Saul couldn't get the job done, Samuel had to come and finish him off. And the point of the matter is that you're dealing with something political. When you're dealing with political corruption, you cannot be nice. That's why I will never join politics. Because if you're going to join politics, you have to clean up. Like you're gonna have blood in your hands. That's why David had blood in his hands. He couldn't even build a temple. He had to have blood in his hands because he was that bad of a thing.
Even if it's metaphorically.
Yes, it's just unfortunately, it's just what it is. And I'm in no way calling for death threats. Please don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is there has to be some serious cleanup in our institution in order for America to move forward, in order for Trump's presidency to even be successful. So him being elected, winning the presidency, that's going to happen. I don't see any how they could stop that from happening, especially with those TikTok numbers. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to allow him to work, though. You know, if he's still running the court back and forth, he's still being sued, he's being indicted back and forth, and he still has to sit and be unable to speak.
Well, if he becomes president, he can just pardon himself.
Yeah. But I wonder how many times he could pardon himself. But I heard from federal cases, or from state cases, he cannot pardon himself. Like the one in New York right now, he cannot.
Yeah, he can. Presidential pardon works on everything.
But I heard he doesn't work for state. He only works for federal. That's what I heard.
Sure about that.
Anyway, the point of the matter is, friends, pray for your country. We are in serious trouble in this country. Pray for your country, pray for each other. But we have a work to do. And we have to show up big time on November 5th. Oh, yeah. It's more than making videos. We're making these YouTube videos to share thoughts and perspective and to tell people to think differently. But at the end of the day, you got to show up big time on November 5th. Unless that is done, it doesn't necessarily matter.
November 4th.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. Well, Darth Vader, would you please close us up with a word of prayer?
All right.
All right, let us pray.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. We come before you today and thank you for this time that we've been able to spend together, sharing your word and being together and enjoying the videos that you've given us that we've been able to present to everyone. We hope that everyone's able to take away something from them and from our commentary on them, that they've learned something and able to grow a little in the process. And hopefully, if anybody has any questions, they reach out to us because we are here for them and willing to work with them and usher them along to get to know you better, and that they might come to you and be closer to you.
Amen.
And we ask those that are in Discord or anywhere else that have prayer requests, though we may not know their names, you do, Lord, and you also know their hearts and what needs they have. We ask that you tend to those needs, and we ask that you bless them in the ways that only you can, Lord.
Amen.
And for all of this, we thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, we ask these things. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, everyone. It's been a good day today. Thanks for hanging out with us. God bless you all. I think
have a wonderful day.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.